Well, Nintendo has released every single 2024 game, aside from Fitness Boxing 3 in December, but we don't talk about that. We're ranking all of them today. Folks, welcome to the Mario Matter, your favorite Nintendo podcast, episode 116, with your host, Nintendo YouTuber, EmSwizzle. It is a fantastic day to talk about some news and what is on the schedule for today, my friends. Today, we are discussing Nintendo news to kick things off. We have some Switch 2 stuff in there, all exciting stuff. After that, we discuss and rank every single 2024 Nintendo Switch game. After that is the Q&A segment, and we do all of that with a special guest, YouTuber RogersBase. Roger is one of the best. He has about 400,000 subscribers on YouTube, and the energy and the passion that he brought to this podcast is so great. It's so great that I don't want to delay it any further. There are timestamps down below if you want to skip to any certain point in this podcast. Let's go ahead and let's talk to Roger about some Nintendo news to kick things off.
Welcome to the Mario Matter, the #1 Nintendo podcast.
Roger, welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's going really good. Thank you for having me. Excited to talk Nintendo, see what's going on. I got my special little Nintendo Tokyo coffee mug.
Look at that.
The ready for today as well. So yeah, let's dive right into it, man. I'm excited.
Should be a fantastic time. And our first piece of news to dive right into everything has to do with the Game Awards. What a fun little topic to discuss here. The nominees for the Game Awards that takes place in December have been revealed. And if I were to realistically go through every single one, I would be here for a while. But we are on a Nintendo show. I'll read the Nintendo nominees that have come out of that. So, to begin here, there was one Nintendo game nominated for Best Action Adventure Game. I'll give the listeners a few seconds to guess.
Gee, I wonder. Yeah.
Lock in your guesses. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is up for Best Action Adventure Game. Princess Peach Showtime, Mario Party Jamboree, and The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom are all up for Best Family Game. Yeah. Do we see any of those winning?
I gotta be honest, I think Zelda has no chance for either category. I think there's potentially a slight chance for Best Family Game, but even there, I feel like it's Astrobots to take it this year. Normally, the Best Family Game category is kind of the Nintendo category at the Game Awards. They always have some type of Nintendo game win, and I feel like this year, because of how huge Astrobot was for PlayStation, I don't see a situation, especially with that being nominated for Game of the Year and Zelda getting the snub, I don't see a situation in which Astrobot doesn't take it. And then for Action Adventure, what's Zelda up against again? It's up against...
I should have listed
I think it's also up against Astrobot. No, I'm pretty sure it's up against Astrobot again because there's no platformer category. So it's going to lose to Astrobot again too.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
So it's a weird situation to be in. I think, honestly, the thing I was more surprised about with Best Family Game is the lack of Paper Mario and of Sonic Shadow Generations. I feel like Sonic X Shadow Generations reviewed very well, like critically was a darling. I think there were a lot of people who were saying, look, this is like return to form for Sonic. Shadow Generations was great. And seeing that miss out and instead seeing Plucky Squire get one of those spots and Princess Peach Showtime, which critically did fine, got kind of mid to high it was like low high to high mid kind of reviews for the most part. So it was just surprising to see that here instead of Paper Mario. And I'm also just confused about the Best Family Game category in general, because it's like you wouldn't want to play Zelda with your family. Like, I understand Mario Party, but you wouldn't play Zelda with your family. You'd play that by yourself. So yeah, it's a weird one overall. But no, I don't think Zelda taking it, unfortunately.
I've never understood Best Family Game, because even Princess Peach Showtime, very good for like kids and everything.
Sure.
That's one player, isn't it? Like, when I think of family game, I think of Mario Party, like a multiplayer thing. I never understood what family game really meant.
Again, I feel like they've always used it as the excuse to get a Nintendo game in there. I feel like obviously Jeff likes bringing Nintendo in so they can hopefully drop a Smash Brothers reveal or something during these awards. And I think last year we didn't really have a big Nintendo reveal if I'm remembering correctly. I think the year prior to that they did, but last year they didn't really have one. And this year I don't really see anything happening other than maybe one little thing that we'll talk about in just a second. That's the only thing Nintendo related that I think could slide into this show. But again, I don't want to jump too much ahead. I'll let you read off the other nominations and I'll tell you what I think we might end up seeing.
So we got a few more nominations. Mario Party Jamboree is up for Best Multiplayer Game.
Yep.
I really should have listed what they're actually up against, because I feel
I'll tell you right now, I just did a whole stream for this. Mario Party Jamboree is going to lose to Helldivers. That's a lock, guarantee. I think it's Mario Party Jamboree, Helldivers, Tekken, and I forgot what the other two are, but I mean, Helldivers was like the big multiplayer game for the industry earlier this year. There's no way that does not end up winning. I think obviously Mario Party winning would be fun as like a local co-op kind of game, but no, in terms of how the judges are going to vote, there's no chance, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I know.
And then finally, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is up for Most Anticipated Game, but because GTA 6 is also a nominee,
right?
I don't see Metroid Prime 4 winning Most Anticipated Game, but
no,
it is highly anticipated. So out of all of these categories, we think something's going to win Best Family Game for Nintendo, right?
No, I'm telling you, it's Astrobot. It's going to be Astrobot. 110%.
Right.
Yeah. No, I like lock it in. I'm telling you right now. Like, and I'm saying this as a diehard Nintendo fan.
Sure.
Who I mean, literally, you could see behind me. I got all my Nintendo stuff. I've always been a Nintendo fan. I will always be a Nintendo fan. This is not Nintendo's year to honestly win anything. And as much as I would vote for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond for best, most anticipated game, and I'm sure you would as well, it's honestly, there's no chance it's going to win, especially up against GTA. But even then, you're up against stuff like Monster Hunter, the new Death Stranding game, the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. It's a tough year. I do think if we get any Nintendo related like announcement or trailer doing this, I could see a slight potential announcement or reveal trailer for like more gameplay for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. But that is honestly the only thing, because I feel like, as you know, as a Nintendo creator, right? I feel like the only things we have to look forward to really for baseline Switch now are the Donkey Kong port coming up in January, Xenoblade X in February. We've got Pokemon Legends, which we still haven't seen gameplay for as of this recording, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And I do feel we're in a situation where Metroid Prime 4, they might end up saving, like showing that off until we eventually get that Switch 2 reveal, because I do think it's going to be like a Twilight Princess type situation now that we know that the system's backwards compatible. They might have like a version optimized for Switch 2, but yeah, other than Metroid Prime 4, I think it's going to be a rough Game Awards for Nintendo fans.
Gonna be rough. I would like to see some Nintendo trailer or something, because we didn't get one last year. And honestly, even like before last year, I wasn't a big like Game Awards watcher. I just wasn't for whatever reason.
Sure.
So last year I was hoping for something. Didn't get it. Hopefully we get something this year, but it might be a mess for Nintendo. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
What also could be a mess for Nintendo is if our next news piece here is legit, and that is new Nintendo Switch 2 leaks have surfaced. Oh man, now, can't wait to see.
I see leaks in this note doc with quotations. I'm like, are these really leaks? I feel like at this point, until Nintendo tells us straight up, this is what the new Switch is, I'm not believing anything. I feel like there's too many people who are new within this fandom, who don't remember the days of the NX, who don't remember Joy-Con boys, where Attica went on stream with his 3D printed Joy-Cons, people who don't remember the old image of like the circular Switch, remember, where it was like all one glass screen? Yeah. So I feel like every single Nintendo channel I've seen has been doing all these rumor videos of Nintendo stuff, and I feel like at this point, I just don't believe any of it. I feel like until Nintendo says this is what it is, I ain't buying it.
I love it, dude.
What makes this one different, though? I would like to know.
So, yes, you are right. I did put leaks in quotations here because, you can never trust them, but they are worth discussing. So,
okay,
we had the big leak about, 2 months ago now? Where like we saw the renders of it, I guess you would say, from a manufacturer or something like that. These are pretty similar. Now, after we saw the first big leak, there was a sketch that came out from somebody who we'll actually talk about in a second here.
Okay.
A sketch came out from a quote unquote leaker. I have to use quotes here because I can't actually, I'm believing all of this.
Sure.
A leaker called Ninspider. They put out a sketch with a U-shaped kickstand, and that was then corroborated by a legitimate leaker called Nate the Hate. So there's some credibility there.
Yeah.
That U-shaped kickstand has now made its way onto these new Switch 2 leaks, if that makes any sense. So, honestly, U-shaped kickstand. I'm going to put some images on screen, but they're on your Google Doc there.
I can see them, yeah.
There's a U-shaped kickstand on the supposed Switch 2. That could be something that is quote-unquote leaked here. And then also what we have is what some people are calling 3 brand new buttons on the top of the Switch 2.
Brand new. I'm going to look on the top of mine. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I guess we have the volume and the power button up here. What would be the third one?
So there's 3 brand new middle buttons there though. But here's the thing. Some people are saying it's just like air vents. Those are just air vents. Those aren't buttons.
Maybe. They could end up being air vents. That's true. I mean, I don't know. The only things I feel pretty confident about in terms of these leaks, in terms of what's real, right? I do feel like there's been enough smoke where there's fire regarding the magnetic Joy-Cons with them attaching to the Switch as opposed to sliding in and clicking. I do feel like that's probably going to end up being true. It looks kind of based on this sketch that you're showing me in this design document that this is also the case here, right? Where they just kind of click on as opposed to being something that you slide on. Beyond that, we know already, Nintendo straight up announced in their investor meeting a couple weeks ago, the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible. And all the NSO stuff is going to carry over too. And I feel like there were still some people who were doubting that, even as of 3-4 weeks ago. People were like, I don't know if the libraries are going to carry over. But again, anyone following Nintendo news or following any of the investors meetings, 4 years ago, early into the Switch's life, they ended up showing during the, it was one of the investors meetings about the Nintendo accounts. Right? And that the Nintendo account system was put in place to future-proof for future systems so that your save data, your games, all that stuff carries over. So again, wasn't a huge surprise about the backwards compatibility thing. The only thing I'm wondering is if potentially it still is going to be backwards compatible with physical games. That's kind of the only question I have because they haven't clarified that. They said it will be backwards compatible. And so digital library is a lock. But in terms of actual physical cartridges, my assumption would be it would be. But what do you think?
I think it would be. I just don't see a world where it's only digital backwards compatibility because, I mean, it can't be that hard. You've done it before with 3DS and DS. You just put a little notch on the new cartridges and you can use your old ones. I don't think that it'd be hard for them. I'm no, Nintendo engineer, but I just think you can do it. You should do it. And I feel like if you can only do it halfway, which is, only doing it digitally, kind of why even do it? It's because for us, I mean, maybe I speak for you, maybe not. I'm a physical game collector.
Oh, I'm the exact opposite.
Oh, okay.
Which is,
so
I think,
chilling.
the other reason why I'm chilling. Yeah, because I feel like for me, when they made that announcement, I kind of saw the writing on the wall that it could potentially not be fully backwards compatible with physical. So I was like, I'm just going to start digitally getting my stuff. And I also I like owning physical versions, special editions for franchises I love, right? For Fire Emblems and Xenoblades and Zeldas and stuff. But for the most part, I feel like if I want to boot something up and I'm on a plane, right? I don't want to have to go through a whole little thing that I'm bringing of all these cartridges and replug the thing. And I just want to be able to boot it up and go. And so that's why I'm more digital. But again, I not... to be down on anybody who's a physical collector, I completely understand,
It's nicer to have it all digital, but it's also nice to have those red boxes on the shelf. Either way, it's cool. But these are quote-unquote leaks. Might we believe these? Do we, okay, put it this way. Do we believe the previous render, of Switch 2 leaks 2 months ago? Do we believe that?
I don't think so, because I think if I'm remembering correctly, it came out that the guy just straight up admitted it was a render based on information that he heard. It wasn't it was something leaked from the factory. The thing that I do believe is that shot of, wasn't it a frame or something of the innards of part of the Switch 2 that someone took the photo of? And it was top down where it was the actual inside of the Joy-Con itself. And I was like, okay, I could kind of buy that. But because it looked real and it didn't look like something you could 3D print. It looked like something that was actually physically made. Whereas any of these render things, I take with a grain of salt at this point, because literally anybody with any experience whatsoever making 3D models can crank these out. Again, I've been around the game for a long time. I was there in the early days of Smashified, where like Artsy Omni was doing the fake Rayman leaks for Smash Wii U, and everybody believed that Rayman was in Smash Wii U because of how good the leak looked, and then he did a whole video outlining exactly how he did it in Photoshop. So I've been very, very hesitant in recent years about pretty much anything that's a digital leak. Yeah.
And we probably should be, because I'm like buying into everything. I mean, not that I believe this, but like I just can't get enough. It's all interesting. But we have, to close off the news segment, another Switch 2 rumor. This one seems a little bit more like, maybe I can believe this one.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So the rumor is Nintendo is preparing up to 7 million Nintendo Switch 2s for launch to avoid shortages. How do we know this? Well, that leaker I was talking about, that NinSpider who leaked the U-shaped kickstand that was then backed up by a leaker who has a good track record, Nate the Hate. So this could give NinSpider some credibility here. They are the ones who, Roger, these leakers, man. So this NinSpider guy put like a bunch of random letters and numbers on a form, which you can then like go to some site and like decode or whatever, and then it spells out a message. Why even do that? Just say what you're trying to say.
Because obviously it's clout. Like that's what all the leakers do. It's all like for clout and it's fun. And I'm sure that's why they're doing it. It's like an ARG type thing where you have to go and figure out the code. I mean, of course that's why. Because again, it's going to take you more time to go and decode this thing and go to somebody's website, and you're going to have that real estate in your brain of this person if you're going and doing a whole thing other than like reading a rumor that somebody posts and it's just one and done. So of course,
kind of a hassle to decode for those who did, but the decoded message says this from leaker who may be credible. The initial stock quantity has been finalized and the factory will plan production accordingly. I can't disclose the exact number, but for the US market alone, it's roughly 2.5 times the volume from March 2017, which is when the Switch launched. The sales units for March 2017 were 2.74 million. 2.74 million times 2.5 is about almost 7 million units. So that is the rumor, 7 million units of Switch 2. I mean, I can buy this simply because I mean, you don't want to have shortages. I mean, that's the main reason you would make more. I would imagine they're going to sell a lot of Switch 2s.
Oh, yes.
Especially because it's, a very much, it's the console after the very successful Switch.
Sure.
You would make less Switches after, like, the Wii U because you're kind of, like, on edge a little bit.
Sure.
But, for now, I can see more Switch 2s being made than there were Switches back in 2017. So we're buying into the rumor here?
100%. Yeah. I definitely believe this could be true, especially considering the fact like I hesitate to say delayed, right? Because the system was never announced. But I feel like a lot of us expected this 2 years ago, right? To have some type of Switch 2. And then we ended up getting that great year with Mario Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom and all this other great stuff. I mean, I remember the time within the fandom in which Tears of the Kingdom, everybody assumed was the swan song of the Switch.
Yeah.
Coming to find all these other games have released since then. And like really great quality games that people have been excited for. So I feel like, I do buy into the rumor that they're going to end up having more of a stock this time around, especially if they end up having like a really big killer app kind of launch game. I don't necessarily know if that would be like 3D Mario at launch. I feel like that would probably be their big holiday game, but I certainly would buy into Mario Kart. I think Mario Kart will probably end up being their big launch title. It's a family title, right? Going back to what we were talking about with the Game Awards. It's a multiplayer title. It's something that people have been actively anticipating, right? We've been playing essentially the same Mario Kart game for a decade now. So to have an actual brand new Mario Kart, especially if the rumors to be believed about it potentially being like a Nintendo crossover type thing, it's going to do gangbusters. That's going to do incredibly well. You pair that with like a cross-release type Twilight Princess-esque launch with Metroid Prime 4. Baby, you got a stew going. Metroid Mario Kart, that's a great launch lineup right there.
Yeah. Are you in favor of Mario Kart becoming Nintendo Kart, where like they bring everyone in?
I'm of two minds about it. I feel like I don't want it to fully turn into Super Smash Kart, despite me being like a Smash Brothers YouTuber and talking about Smash Brothers and loving it. I feel like that's the beauty of Smash Brothers, is being like the crossover with all these other franchises. But I do feel like that is sort of the trajectory we're moving on, where you had the Inklings and Isabelle and Link, and even the F-Zero courses, the Excitebike courses. There's now enough courses if they were going to do a retro 2 cups. in the new Mario Kart game. There's enough courses that are non-Mario, Nintendo-related courses in which they could make 2 full cups, retro cups, bringing back old courses of Nintendo-themed courses for a Smash game. So, I mean, for a Mario Kart game. See, I'm already saying Smash Brothers because I feel like I'm feeling it's going to happen. I also feel like timing-wise, right? A lot of people say, no, this isn't the case, but it is. Internally, this is the case, right? Mario Kart Tour, like it or not, was Mario Kart 9. It is classified by Nintendo as Mario Kart 9. It is what it is. Which means Mario Kart, the next Mario Kart, would be Mario Kart 10. And 10, the Roman numeral 10, is an X. And X traditionally means crossover type games. You had this with Smash Brothers with the Japanese name for Brawl in Japan. I think, again, the timing is right with it being a big launch title. I cannot imagine they would have a Smash game anywhere near the launch window for this new system. So I feel like if you want to sort of hit that audience, get the crossover, showcase what all these franchises are going to look like on your new souped up system, like this is the way to go about it. Again, do I want that necessarily? I don't know. I think part of me says yes because they haven't taken the risks that I wanted to see with the Mario Kart rosters. I feel like had you included characters like Cappy and Egad and some of these like cool, well-known supporting characters for Mario, then I'd be like all out, keep it Mario Kart and like just dive into the weird little characters that you could pull in for the game. But it doesn't seem like that's the direction they're going in, even with the DLC that they did for Kart 8 Deluxe. Yep. They were bringing characters back and then like threw in Pauline, which everyone expected. So like, of course. Yep. So I feel like, yeah, for a Super Smash Kart, Mario Kart 10, Mario Kart X type crossover game, I think it'd be really cool if they start implementing like some of the other major first-party Nintendo characters that are already wholly owned by Nintendo. Characters like Samus, characters like Pit, characters like Olimar and the Pikmin. And then you do actual courses and tracks and full cups based around these franchises. Like you have an R-Wing Cup where it's all in space. You've got a Pikmin Cup, right? Where you're going through these massive gardens and you're these tiny little carts driving through stuff with Bulborbs chasing you. There's a lot of really cool possibilities there. And I do think Mario Kart could use the shakeup, so.
For me, I think it's just the most natural next step. The only issue I have with what you're saying there is I really do think that the next Mario Kart is called Mario Kart 9.
I think it's 10. I would put money on it being 10 if it's a crossover game. I think they might, I could see your argument if they keep it Mario Kart. If they keep it Mario Kart with a couple guest characters, I think they might publicly call it Mario Kart 9, right? I think they might title it Mario Kart 9 so as to not confuse people. But I think if they go with the crossover aspect, there's no doubt in my mind they're calling it 10. And they're going to, again, backwards classify Tour as 9, and you're going to do the 10 with the Roman numeral, and it's going to mean crossover. I've never felt more sure about anything in my life. Like
that makes some sense.
But only if it's a crossover, though. Yeah. I buy you saying it's 9 if it is a Mario Kart next iteration. Yeah, but if they're doing something different, 10's going to be the way they're going to go. Yeah.
I could see that. It makes some sense, like the way that you put it. If it's a crossover, Mario Kart. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So that's a launch title. Launch Mario Kart.
I think it's a launch title.
10 or 9 and Metroid Prime 4.
Yes.
And probably don't have shortages.
No, and I also probably think we're going to get a pretty big third-party game at launch, like a pretty big, well-known, non-Nintendo big third-party game at launch. And I think one that would make a lot of sense to me would be Elden Ring. I mean, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree already got nominated for Game of the Year this year, too. And that's starting its own controversy. But that expansion was incredible. And I think there is definitely something to be said about, like, on one cart, which is crazy to say that, considering it's on a Nintendo platform, but, right, Elden Ring with all the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, right, for one price on the system there at launch, and being able to play that on the go for people who don't have a Steam Deck would be huge. And I know a lot of people who would dive into the game and potentially would even make it their first Souls-like game if they put it on the Switch too. So
for sure. We need a big launch for Switch 2, but thankfully, as the rumor says, we're not going to have shortages. But my friends, it is time for us to yap. We're going to move to our next segment and rank every single 2024 Nintendo Switch game, besides, I think Nintendo is publishing Fitness Boxing 3.
We're not going to even worry about that. Don't even bother.
I mean, that's not even a... No. We have all the main things out there.
Sure.
Let's go ahead. Let's rank them. It is time, the big decision-making time, to rank every single 2024 Nintendo Switch game. We had a total of, if I can count real quick, 11 Nintendo-made Switch games released this year. I guess 12 after Fitness Boxing 3. We're not here for that, okay? We're here for these ones. And I'll run you through the 11 games that have released this year from Nintendo. We're going to rank them from S being the best down to D. And our nominees here, our options are from first to last: Another Code Recollection, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Princess Peach Showtime, Endless Ocean Luminous, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, Emio the Smiling Man, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Mario Party Jamboree, and Mario and Luigi Brothership. And we begin, Roger, with Another Code Recollection. I was telling you before we began, I have some strong opinions about the game, and listeners of the show will know that I have strong opinions. Let's go ahead. Give me your spiel on Another Code Recollection. What did we think? All that kind of stuff. And where would you rank it? Then we'll give my thoughts, and then we'll find kind of like a middle ground.
Sure. First and foremost, it has, I think, I would argue, the best box art of any game that's come out this year. I think the way that you have the memories in Ashley's head, and then you've got like that really pretty, almost watercolor look, I genuinely think it's like one of the prettiest box arts. So that's one. Two, I also genuinely really enjoyed those original games, and so I think seeing them re-released, remastered, and remade for Switch has been awesome, and seeing like a new audience get into it, especially considering the one that never even came out in North America. The thing that honestly I am just more surprised by is that off camera you had mentioned this is potential top 3 of all time for you. Now, as somebody who likes Another Code, I'm just curious as to like what made you connect so strongly with this game, and why are you just trying it now?
Do you want to see this? One second. Let me grab this thing.
Please, I would like to know. I'm dying to know this. So you have the original. Okay, you have the original Wii one. Okay.
So I didn't before the game released. I bought it because the whole game was so good.
Wow.
So I guess you're kind of handing me the baton to tell you why this is my third favorite game of all time. So I'll be very honest. Before this was shown, I did not know what Another Code was.
Sure.
I have such a story. When I saw it in the September Direct, I was like, okay, whatever. Next game. I'm waiting for F-Zero to be shown in that Direct.
Sure, F-Zero 99. Yep.
Yep. So it comes out in January. I am a Nintendo YouTuber. They're pushing the game hard. It's made by Nintendo. It's only right for me to go and get it. I get it on the snowiest day possible where I live, and I get home and I play it. Actually, that's not true. I played the demo, then I went and got it.
That's right. They released the demo beforehand. Right. I forgot about that. Right.
And just based off that, I was like, that's pretty. It's actually pretty good. You know, it's pretty fun so far based on like the hour that they give you, and it's really hard to pick out everything that made it a top 3 game, but I will. I mean, first of all, God, where do I even start? There's
probably the narrative, to be fair. I feel like that is the thing that people connect to more than anything else, right? Is the characters and the narrative. I'm assuming that was what pulled you in.
Yeah, I would say mostly the story.
Yeah.
This is such a hard sell. I have to really go into the weeds here. I think, so there's obviously 2 parts of the game. The first one being Trace Memory. The second one being Journey into Lost Memories. Trace Memory, just the amount of twists and turns in that part, I think was really... I really enjoyed it. I really this is one of the games that I can't wait to play more, so much so that this is rare for me, but maybe common for others. I sat down and played the game for 8 hours straight. Not common for me, maybe for others. Okay. This one really pulled me in. So Trace Memory, I beat in about 8 hours. Just, without spoiling too many things for the audience who hasn't played it yet, and just, to make it simple, the story had me. It just totally had me. I don't want to spoil things for people. I just the ending, really. And I think, there's no specific part I can point out. It just hit me the most.
Sure.
Sorry, this is tough.
It's tough. I know, and the crazy thing, not to cut you off, but the crazy thing about this is one of 2 games that are like this for Nintendo this year. Because all the things you're saying about this game are how I feel about Emio when we get to Emio. I adored Emio and completely fell in love with that game. The story, I thought the ending was so good. The aesthetic of it, which again, Another Code has in spades, right? I think like the thing that Another Code and Emio do very well is they have a style that is very unique to them, that is unlike anything else that Nintendo creates, right? Yeah. And again, the stories and the themes of the stories are much darker than what we would expect from a Nintendo-related game, right? So yeah, I dig it. I honestly would be fine with wherever you're going to put this on this list. Even if you put it all the way up in S, you say it's a top 3 game for you, I'd be completely fine with that. I feel it's one of the strongest games Nintendo's released this year. I think the only thing that I would argue against this being super duper high is that it's a re-release. Is the only thing. I would potentially put it in A instead of S simply due to the fact that it's not a new game. But your love and passion for it, dude, I'm fine putting it that high or even higher.
Oh, I didn't even get to the second part of the game. The second part of the game, honestly, contrary to popular opinions there, was my favorite. I think the second half. Yeah, a lot of people like the first one better. Okay, I like the second one better because this game here, the first one, I think maybe not, but they changed things in the remake. Have you played the whole game?
I have. You could spoil me. It's fine. Yeah.
The scene where she meets her mom in the dream. Yes. I think that might have solidified top 3 of all time. Yeah. Magical story. If I should give some like sort of backgrounders. The first story, her mom dies, and you gotta figure out pretty much who did it, how it happened, where you, that kind of stuff. Murder mystery type stuff. And then the second part, she goes, I'm a little bit foggy. She goes to see her dad at where he works, I believe. I'm kind of foggy. I mean, it was almost a year ago.
Do not remember. I was going to say, this was like the very, very beginning of the year, and this was a narrative heavy year with like Final Fantasy and with Emio and all these other titles. So no, go off, King.
and then from there, it's a great story. For me, I think it's not a popular opinion, but like for me, this is it. Where do we rank this though?
Like I said,
I'm fine. Yeah.
I'm completely fine. If you feel that strongly and think it's a top 3 of all time for Nintendo, I'm perfectly fine putting this in the S tier completely. I think it is a underrated franchise by Nintendo. I think it's something more people should play. It's got, again, an amazing aesthetic, a great soundtrack, a really good story, and overall, I think it's something more people should play. Like I said, the only reason I would say A would simply be due to the fact that it's a remaster as opposed to a brand new game, like some of the other things that I'm looking at that are coming out a little bit later this year that I think, 2 in particular, that I think deserve to be an S. So, yeah.
I'm fine with the A tier because it's a joint tier list. We can do that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I also, on my own tier list for the year, would not put it lower than A. So, if that helps you
for both of us, we're going to put it A tier. I mean, I just love that game. It was hard for me to like recall every little bit. I've made a video where I go through everything. You can watch that, of course. I just know that game stuck with me. I would love to play it a billion times over, but our next game here, the remake, and we're going to have a lot of those in this little list here. Yep. Mario versus Donkey Kong, originally on the Game Boy Advance. This one's not as foggy for me. I would love to give thoughts on this, but I will begin with you.
Okay.
Mario versus Donkey Kong.
This is going to be an unpopular opinion. I'm very sorry. I do not care about Mario and Donkey Kong versus at all. Not even in the slightest. I've never liked this franchise. And I'm saying this again as a huge Nintendo fan. People who watch me know this. It's kind of weird because one of my least favorite Nintendo franchises is Mario in general, which seems crazy, right? People are like, but you're a Nintendo fan. I know. But I have always been more of like a Zelda, Metroid, Fire Emblem, Xenoblade type person, Pokemon, all that kind of stuff. And so for me, as much as I love 3D Mario games, and I adore the Mario spin-offs, things like Mario Party and Mario Kart, Mario Tennis even, the mainline like 2D Mario games or the spin-off games within the Mario franchise that are also side-scrolly or like puzzly, I just have never really liked. I will say and this could maybe potentially help your case. I do think this is probably one of the strongest of the Mario Donkey Kong games. I feel like this one is a remake of that original Game Boy Advance one, which again was super solid, and at the time was, something that a lot of people hadn't experienced, who maybe didn't play. It was a Donkey Kong 94 on the Game Boy, right? That also had similar gameplay to this. I also don't like the minis at all. I just don't like the aesthetic of those games whatsoever. And so this would not be high on my list. I wouldn't put it in the lowest tier because I do think it was a very quality remaster, remake, re-release. And, I'd probably put it in C. For me personally, I'd put it in C. Yeah.
I think I would probably fall somewhere around there as well, to be honest.
Oh, well, then what the heck? You were all surprised with what I was saying. What the heck? Okay, you're gaslighting me with your opinions because I'm sitting over here saying this and you're going, oh, like you're shocked, but you agree.
Listen, man, Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Why'd you say that? You said that like Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. You were like Mario versus Donkey Kong.
It's a decent game and a decent. I think what I gasped about was you not caring for the franchise or for the series, rather. Yeah, I care for the series. I think there are better ones. I think that's maybe what I gasped about.
Sure.
This one, though, while it was good, while it was probably maybe I would argue the smoothest, just because it's the newest one, the greatest one. It had a few flaws. Number one, I would say, and of course it's a Game Boy Advance remake, it was a little bit short for what I wanted here. I beat the game in I think 5 hours? It wasn't.
It's very great. Short. Yeah, it was about 4 or 5 hours. Pretty short.
4 or 5 hours. Yeah, somewhere around there. Otherwise, I wanted to be a little bit more challenged, and you can replay it like with a time limit, I believe. I wanted more challenge. Aside from that, and this is how these games are. I can't fault it for it, but this is just my experience. This is going to sound stupid. Very repetitive. And that's how the series is. That's how the series is. You play level after level. But I would like some sort of mix-up or something different here. Puzzles were cool. I liked those, but they felt very entry-level. Again, about how I wanted to be challenged. $50, I will say that. It wasn't a full price. It was $50, not $60. That has
I would still say like $20 too expensive for what it was. I would still say like I personally felt like this could have easily been an eShop only $30 release. I don't necessarily think it even justifies the $50 price tag, which is wild considering there's other things on this list that maybe people would argue didn't deserve the price tag either, but I think it was totally justified. Yeah.
I can get that.
Yeah.
Like a little, because wasn't the previous one on the Wii U a digital thing? Mario
it was a digital thing. Also, they had the
stars or something.
There was the DSiWare one. There was the WiiWare. Was there a WiiWare one? There was definitely a DSiWare one for sure. I just, like I said, it's not a franchise I particularly care about. And when you compare this being a $50 release to Metroid Prime Remastered being a budget release, and that game is like almost a fully remade, amazing port of the original Metroid Prime. And again, that is like one of the best Metroid games of all time and one of the best action games on Switch. So to me, again, the price didn't necessarily justify the experience for me. But again, I think it's a well-made game. And I think there's other games that are on this list that I would be less likely to play above this one. So I would probably say C would be where I would put it for me. What about you?
I could see that, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. Because it wasn't like awful, but it wasn't good either. So for me, I would land at like a B. But was it a B? This is tough.
No. In fact, could we jump ahead a little bit? Just real quick? Because I feel like this is a good conversation to pair with Princess Peach Showtime. Because I think Princess Peach Showtime is your definitive B. That is like, if you were looking at this tier list, right? And I'm thinking of what's going to be in S and what's going to be in D, thinking of just one game. If Mario versus Donkey Kong is going to be our C, Peach is like the perfect thing to insert in B, because I feel Peach also had its issues, right? Princess Peach, I feel like was also pretty short. I think it could have used with just a little bit more variety with some of the other powers. I would have liked to see like one or two other ones. I think some of those other stages, some of the powers are more interesting than others, but I think that comes with a game like that. I wasn't a huge fan of like the villain in that. I thought they could have done something a little more interesting with that. And I think the final boss was kind of mid compared to some of the other parts of the game. But some of the other levels within Princess Peach Showtime, like the thief levels, where you're using the grappling hook and sliding underneath things, fantastic. I even like the figure skating levels. I thought were fun. You have the boss battles where you're circling around the figure skater dude, and then you've got all the little guys jumping behind you. Just like the humor within that game, I thought was really cute. I think it was awesome to sort of see a new Princess Peach title that also had like interesting new things going for it. And again, as somebody who loves the Smash Brothers franchise, that game is like ripe for if they're ever going to redo Peach's moveset in a Smash game. I'm like, you got the Sword Fighter Peach now, you got the Figure Skater Peach, you got the Thief Peach. There's all these other cool things they could do with her kit. And just for that alone, I was excited about Princess Peach Showtime. And again, I also think it's a really easy bingeable type game. I think I was around probably 4 or 5 hours with Showtime as well. I played the whole thing on stream, 100%ed it, and really enjoyed myself. But again, it's just slightly too easy. And again, it's made for children, right? So of course, it's going to be a little easier than some other Nintendo games. But I would have liked some sort of like additional challenge, even just upon like a first playthrough. If there had been like a hard mode or something, I think I would have enjoyed it a little more. But again, yeah, I thought like all her outfits and even like, again, the theming of the levels, the whole thing being a stage, having the, like the ninja levels were really cool, where you're jumping on the rooftops and you've got all the little guys behind you and you find the little dudes with their light bulbs. I liked the whole aesthetic of that game. I liked it being in a theater as a theater kid myself. And I think, again, that is like, if we're looking at our list in terms of something that I would say is like the most solid, middle of the road B choice, I would say Peach Showtime would be that, which is why, going back to Mario vs. Donkey Kong, I would say I would put Mario vs. Donkey Kong in a tier below wherever we put Princess Peach. And I don't see Peach being a C game. I see Peach being a B game for me.
Alrighty. So, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, we place C tier. By the way,
Yes.
I love your thoughts on Showtime. I will give my thoughts now.
Yes, please.
Princess Peach Showtime. Honestly, I was pretty excited for this. I kind of went into it knowing it might be a bit easy because I feel like it just looks like a kid's game, but I wasn't going to let that bother me. I dive into the game. It's exactly what I thought. It's pretty freaking easy. I do like, of course, the whole theater thing. I like how she can be all these different outfits. And what I was worried about was that it would be kind of like confusing. Like every single level is a different outfit. Thankfully, it wasn't all that bad. It was actually pretty fun. But I did have a worry, about that. But that's a point in its favor. It does things well, mixes things up well. It's not too repetitive in that sense, so that's great too. Short just a little bit, but I can't keep knocking games for that because like it's about what you get in the time, not the time that you play. So I shouldn't really bring that up. But one thing I did notice, my biggest gripe, and honestly, it wasn't as bad of a game until I got to the boss fight, like the final one. I'm not spoiling anything, okay? But when I tell you, I think I just stood in the same spot and spammed A, and I didn't have to move. I didn't have to move. That, I think, was the most anticlimactic, most disappointing boss fight I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not trying to bash the game. I stood in the same spot and spammed A. Yeah. I think that was like the most deflating, like, oh my gosh, that's it kind of thing.
I agree. Completely 110% agree. And people can go back and watch my like stream VODs of it. I felt the exact same way. I felt like we were starting to get in some of the good challenges, like in that last Thief Peach room, like towards the ending, I was like, this is actually really fun. Like you have to get your timing right. Even like the last detective one I thought was pretty fun and interesting. But once you get to that final boss, man, I really felt it was just you turn your brain off and just go. And I'm understanding why they did it, because it's a kid's game and because they want kids to actually beat the title and they don't want like some big difficulty spike. But at the same time, you could have done something else with this. And again, the villain was already so generic looking to begin with that like just seeing super duper, what's her like final move, like the supersonic Peach, like super duper Princess Peach or something, seeing her like shooting the star beams or whatever at this thing, I felt nothing, which is a shame because I thought the rest of the game was so interesting and they did so many fun little things with the different costumes and the different gameplay mechanics that it did feel like a bummer. So I'm in complete agreement with you about the climax of the game. Yeah.
So Princess Peach Showtime. So we're saying B. I would do a B.
Yeah, I would also do a B.
B would make sense.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think, again,
Princess
it's like
Peach.
perfect middle of the road. I think not like the best release they did this year, but certainly not bad. And I would still easily recommend it to somebody who likes Mario games. If you like Mario and you want to see a Princess Peach game, like this is the one to play. It's fun. Yeah.
For sure.
And again, going back to one other thing to say too, going back to what you mentioned with like Mario versus Donkey Kong and about like the time we spent on that and you saying like, oh, I know it might feel kind of unfair to talk about like length of the game being a negative, but I do also think the length could be a positive so long as what you're getting is actually good, right? And I feel like Mario versus Donkey Kong, as you brought up, is very repetitive in like the 4 or 5 hours that you're playing it. Whereas like what you were getting during those 4 or 5 hours of Princess Peach Showtime is like a rich, varied, interesting, fun experience that's at least going to stick with you. I can remember specific levels with Princess Peach Showtime months later. I cannot remember a single level about Mario vs. Donkey Kong that stands out in comparison to the other ones. So, yeah.
Agreed. So, Princess Peach Showtime,
yes.
B tier. Just for a reminder, we have A, B, C filled out. A for another code. B, Princess Peach. C, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. And I have a feeling, Roger, I'm not sure about your feelings on the next game. We could have our first D. Because that's where I'm putting it. So, Endless Ocean Luminous is our next game, Roger. I want your spiel here.
Okay. I am somebody who popped off when they announced this during an Indie World, wasn't it? It wasn't even like they announced it it was during a weird partner showcase Indie World
partner
thing.
Showcase.
Right. And I popped off because I love the Endless Ocean games on the Wii. Endless Ocean and what was the second one? I think it was just
Blue
Endless
World.
Ocean 2. Oh yeah, that's right. Both of those games I own on the Wii. I love them. I like putting in my own music and just exploring and diving and stuff. And so I was supremely excited for this one as well, especially like with the massive dives that you can do with like, what it was like 24 players or something that you can do.
Something like that.
It was really cool. And I had fun streaming it, even where you have like the little robot voice where she's going, this is this type of fish. This is where you find, it's a calming, cozy type of title. However, I feel like the Endless Ocean games have always been good due to their replay value. And I feel like I was not encouraged to go back in any meaningful way to like 100% my little Oceanpedia in this Endless Ocean game, simply because I feel like it didn't do what I expected of a new Endless Ocean game in 2024. I think this game still looks like the Wii games. And that's not really an excuse when you have better hardware, right? This thing is, you could easily make the game look better than it actually looks, easily. And when this entire game is about exploration, and you're obviously not into any heavy action at any point, you're just taking photos of stuff, the game has to look pretty. And normally I am not like somebody who is a graphics snob, but I do think for this specific franchise and for this specific title on the Switch, the game needed to look better than it ended up looking. Now, the core gameplay, the exploration is still there. And if you liked the original Endless Ocean games on Wii, you'll probably still enjoy the minute-to-minute gameplay. But it is going to get repetitive. You are going to be tired out. After a couple hours, you're going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to go back to the menu and unlock, a new color for my scuba suit. And overall, I was heavily disappointed. I still would not put it in D, simply because at the very least, again, it is a new title as opposed to a re-release. And there are, we're going to have something on D on this list at some point. And I feel like it would be unfair to me to put Endless Ocean there by itself. And I do think we might come to a consensus on one other D looking at this list later on.
I think I know what you're talking about there.
Yes. I think I'm going to agree with you in putting this in D as much as it pains me, because I still think, as much as I don't like the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, I do think it's a better made game, unfortunately.
I don't know, man. I might be split right there with that sentence. I think it's one of the worst Switch games
ever.
Do I say ever? I don't know.
No
Definitely this
way.
year.
We have, let me remind you, okay, of 1-2 Switch. Let me remind you of everybody 1-2 Switch. Let me remind you of the absolute travesty on God's green earth that was Super Mario Strikers. What happened with that game? That could have been one of the best Mario spin-offs on the Switch. For them to fumble the bag so badly with that title almost makes me angrier than Endless Ocean just being like kind of bad.
I would argue Mario Strikers is better than Endless Ocean, but I will preface that saying I'm a big Mario Strikers fan.
I am also a Mario Strikers fan, which is why it shocks me that you would say that, because as a Mario Strikers fan, you should be ashamed for thinking that Mario Strikers on the Switch is a somewhat decent version of that game, when you know this dang well. The Wii game and the GameCube game, fantastic. Absolute fantastic. Some of the best Mario spin-offs ever. In terms of the sports games. Would you not agree? Those two Strikers games are peak.
Fantastic. But allow me to explain myself with Endless Ocean Luminous and Mario Strikers. So,
go ahead.
Endless Ocean Luminous. Let's start with the story mode.
Yes.
Some of the story mode levels are just cutscenes. They're just cutscenes.
Just cutscenes.
At the same time, in these cutscenes, I can vividly recall one where it seemed like there was going to be a giant shark attack, and I thought that we'd have to like swim away, all like freaking out.
With this,
the shark just swam away, and the whole scene just went downhill in terms of like intensity. Terrible. I don't like the AI voice. Not my favorite. I mean, I'm not one of those like AI haters. I just like I didn't like the approach for this game.
In the voice, for sure.
With the AI voice, I didn't love that. Story mode did not do it for me. Like if part of the levels are just cutscenes, that to me feels like a filler level. I'll just throw it in there so we can add more levels to the story mode. Didn't like that. The free play, free dive mode, it's Endless Ocean. You can find different fish. However, after finding about 200 fish, maybe even less than that, I can't find any new ones whatsoever.
Right.
So to complete like the whole 400 or like, you know, however many, that's hard for me. The online mode, I'll give them credit. Online runs great. No serious problems with it. No like lag or anything. However, what I don't like is how you have to like know people in order for them to join your lobby. I don't have 17 friends or however many I'm able to have in my lobby. I would like a mode where you can dive with strangers. And of course, maybe you can like, there's a Reddit where you can like throw your code in there and people will join. But I needed like a random multiplayer matchmaking mode, like something like that to where I can find people all over the world. Now, some people will argue that when you're in a multiplayer dive, two like people will join you. They're Japanese names. Have you seen that? Like when you do like a multiplayer, I think they're bots. Because how would they join you without you giving out your code? That makes no sense. And they're always Japanese names. I don't know.
I do wonder though, with the dive mode, because I will say the one reason why I'm hesitating to put it in D, despite the fact that I don't think it's super well made, I did actually have fun with the multiplayer mode. Because what I did, I just went on stream, gave the private lobby code, and then everyone was able to join. And then I had like all my viewers diving with me, and we were swimming and fighting different fish, and it was fun. But it was fun once.
Yes.
Like it was fun once on a live stream for content. Like I can't imagine that if I did not have a live chat to play with immediately and everyone could fold into the room. If I was sitting there on my couch and I had to text 17 of my friends who all had to also own this game, and then we all dove together and then someone's connection dies out or something, and it would not be fun. Yeah.
For sure.
So, yeah.
I also dislike how there's a timer on your online match.
Yes.
Online dive or whatever.
Yes.
That's bad.
Yes.
And then my final point is that in the previous Endless Ocean games, you were able to like walk around like the boat area dock. There's none of that in
There's
this
a
game.
menu, and like you said, you get a cutscene in story mode half the time, and you're like, oh, this didn't go anywhere. And then you just get back right to the menu, and you do another dive. You do your one little thing where you're finding the relic underwater or something, and you're like, okay, here we go, next one. And you have to play through those to do some of the other stuff and unlock other stuff for the multiplayer. So it's like, man, it was just a grind. It was a grind.
I think it just failed at being Endless Ocean. So for that reason, I put it at D, but for you put it.
You know what? We've talked about it more, and I'm remembering gripes that I had with it. And even though I did have fun with the stream where I played with a bunch of people, I still think for the average consumer, for someone like who is not a streamer or not a content creator, it's a D. Yeah, it's
I
a
would
D,
say also
unfortunately.
$50, by the way,
Yes,
for that monstrosity.
But I will say it's still a new game. Still a new game.
That's true.
And it's a niche franchise. And in order to support a niche franchise, I would happily pay $50 for a subpar version than $50 for something I could already go play on like Virtual Console or something. So, yeah.
I can see that. And, also, to defend my Mario Strikers claim.
Yes, let's hear it.
Battle League, I would not say is better than the Wii and the GameCube. I
Not even close.
I like the GameCube one the most. But I think gameplay-wise, I would say it's solid. Runs well. No?
Absolutely not. No, I think the game runs fine, which is, that's literally the only thing that I could say about it that's positive is the fact that the game actually runs the way it's supposed to. That's about it. But I feel like they had such a cool opportunity with a new Strikers game to really dive deep into doing like the goofy animations and like, because that was the fun thing about Strikers is the characters were always rude and they had attitude and they just sanitized it in this one. On top of that, the online multiplayer, like the league portion is horrible. It's the worst possible way to do multiplayer for Strikers and have it built up in that fashion where you have to wait to then get the other stadiums. The mashup stadium thing, everything about it, the drip feed of the new characters, and then by the time they drip fed the characters, like I was at least still playing Mario Tennis and Mario Golf as they were feeding out those new characters. I was one and done with Strikers within the week. I mean, I got the game, was like, what is this, man? And then stopped. And so it was a bummer when they kept adding new content. And again, the new content they added, it wasn't like the characters really had attitude. It was just a sanitized version of what made Strikers good. And it's like, if you're going to do another Strikers game, you need to double down on what made people love the franchise in the first place. Do not make the multiplayer more complicated and then sanitize the one thing about it that people love. It was just such a bummer. Yeah.
I can see it. My main thing was just didn't have enough content. Like a story mode would have saved it. Saved it from being one of the worst.
Yes, it would save it from being one of the worst, but I don't know if a story mode would have necessarily saved it from the lack of attitude. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's bad games around here, man. Mario Strikers, Endless Ocean, but this next game here, Roger.
Thankfully.
I imagine we're going to have some pretty positive things to say. Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, the remake from the GameCube. I'll let you have your first spiel.
I mean, what is there to say that hasn't already been said by everybody? I feel like Thousand Year Door is one of the best Mario RPG related titles they've ever made already. The original GameCube version. I think this version is the definitive way to play that game now. I think like the quality of life features, speeding things up. I know there were some people who didn't like the 30 FPS, 60 FPS thing. For me, I am not somebody who is bothered by like FPS frames per second type dealies, so it wasn't a big thing for me. But I thought like it was just a brilliant game to begin with. And so the remake, remaster, whatever you want to call this one, I think was just as good, and again, if not better. I liked the additional things they added in the Pit of 100 Trials. I liked, again, like seeing all of these bosses that I grew up playing on the original GameCube version in HD, seeing all the party members again, and again, like reminding people what made the Paper Mario franchise good in the first place, right? Having those interesting party members, having those side characters, having a little bit of a darker story. I think so many of the modern Paper Mario games just lose out on that, and I'm part of the group, and maybe you aren't, but we're going to potentially have a conversation about it. I'm part of the group that thinks Origami King was at least a step in the right direction. It wasn't perfect, and I certainly did not enjoy the combat in that game, but I thought the humor, the fleshing out of certain party members that would join you every once in a while, I thought was at least better in that game than they were in previous titles like Sticker Star or Color Splash, though Color Splash has a really good soundtrack. I feel like that was a step in the right direction, and I think Thousand Year Door releasing now and people being reminded of how good those classic Paper Mario type games are gives me hope that in the future, if they make another Paper Mario game, that they do it in this way as opposed to in the Origami King way. And again, this game reviewed very well, so I am hoping Nintendo listens, and if they ever choose to do another Paper Mario game, that they follow the 1,000-Year Door formula. But yeah, I loved everything about it. I mean, again, I played the original game, so nothing was like a huge surprise to me in terms of story. Graphically, it was great. I thought the soundtrack was great. Yeah, overall, I had a really, really good time with it, and it would be very high on my list, but I won't spoil where I'll put it just yet. Yeah.
Sure. I like your thoughts. Mine are rather similar. I think this is one of the best Mario RPGs, if not if not the best one. I will say this: I've not played every single Paper Mario game. I am somewhat, I wouldn't say new to the series, but it was never one that I got onto when I was younger. So I got into it somewhat recently. I would say I know a bit more now. I started with the N64 version before 1,000 Year Door. I would say the jump from the first one to 1,000 Year Door, I like a lot. You can tell it's very much so improved. I think this is the problem. Like when I play games from like 7 months ago, I forget some key parts, but I would say it was a great next step from the first game. My favorite parts of the game, I would say the dialogue. Like some games, you just kind of like skip the dialogue, especially, not that we can compare these, but like Animal Crossing, like it's a different game. But like for me, I'm just spamming
You're
B
mashing to
through all
get
the dialogue.
give me my bells. Exactly.
Paper Mario, none of that was going on. I wouldn't delete it all. Great dialogue and some of the best writers from Nintendo. My favorite chapter was probably chapter 3, if you know what that is. I don't want to spoil.
Glitzville. No, Glitzville. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, Glitzville's fantastic.
I liked that one. That one was a lot of fun for me. It's just a lot of mix-ups in the game, and from previous Mario RPG games I've played, I think this one, I can't say the best one. I mean, probably might be the best one, but like for me, it's my favorite one. I can say that. Favorite Mario RPG. Makes me want to go and play every other Paper Mario game I've not played yet. I just hate going into specifics.
You're good. I think you're good. I think if you've played 64 and you've played 1,000 Year Door, you could maybe try Super Paper Mario. It's got some fun things going for it, but otherwise, you're good. You're good. Spend your time on better games. Yeah.
I would like to try Sticker Star like fully. I've dabbled in it, like fully play it. I would like to see. If
you want to experience it for yourself. I will say this. I've always been a Sticker Star hater and will die a Sticker Star hater. But the reason why is not for the reason that most people say. Most people are just like, because it's boring and easy and they didn't like the game. I hate it for one extra reason, which is that I was at the E3 in which the 3DS got announced. I saw with my own eyes the tech demo they had on the original 3DS for what the original version of Paper Mario 3DS was going to be, in which you had a Piranha Plant party member and a little Chain Shop party member following you around. And it was going to be a classic 1,000 Year Door Paper Mario 64 type game. When that game got sanitized to be what it was, with the no original characters and every Toad's just a regular Toad, for me, that was a crime against humanity. I can never forgive that game for taking away what we could have had with a real Paper Mario 3DS. And again, going back to what I was saying with 1,000 Year Door, I do hope that the original character type party members do come back for a future Paper Mario game. I would say if you've only played 64 and 1,000 Year Door though, and you were going to try another one and it wasn't just going to be Super Paper Mario, the only one I could maybe slightly recommend would be Origami King, but go into it knowing that the combat system is nothing like the combat system of the other Paper Marios, and is very taxing and very repetitive. So,
gotcha.
But the dialogue is also great in that one, and the visuals are great too.
Perfect. I will take your advice. I'll try. Well, no, I won't. I'm gonna play some Sticker Star. But also, what I like about that 1,000 Year Door is what we've been saying. The boss battles are actually challenging. That's awesome. That's good. That's really good. I like that. I just like the whole RPG experience. And for me, you say it'll be high on your list. I agree. I just can't decide between S and A. I couldn't put it at B. It would have to be higher.
No way.
S or A.
I was going to put it in A again due to what we were talking about earlier with the remasters. And I'm saying that, but we can always move stuff up, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how we feel at the end of all this. I would say for now, I would safely put it in A next to Another Code because again, beautiful remake of an already fantastic game, but it's not new and doing something super different, which is why I would put it in A. But I wouldn't put it any lower than A. I mean, it's a really fantastic game, and I think one of the best Mario RPG experiences. So yeah.
I think A would suit it. And then as you said, we can always move things up if we somehow decide, but I think A, there we go. Boom.
Yes.
Thousand Year Door at A tier. Our next game, I feel like the opinions are pretty...
Our next two.
Well, here's the thing. The first one, I think opinions are pretty split on, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
The one after that, we'll get into it. But tell me your spiel, Roger, on Luigi's Mansion 2 HD.
How about you start? Because I feel like it's not going to be good. I'll tell you right now.
I didn't love it.
Oh, okay. So we're in agreement.
Oh, we are? Okay, great.
Okay, we're cool.
Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. This is like the one, for whatever reason, I had it on the 3DS. I never actually beat it. I played a little bit, but I never actually beat it because I was a lot younger and I just like didn't. I just like, I played this game once. Let's go back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf or, whatever I was into. So this was like a kind of a new experience for me playing this game. I really didn't like. So yeah, keep in mind, I've played the first one and the third one. I really did not like, and this is just me being bad. Some would say skill issue, some would say whatever the heck. But tell me if you also felt this way. There were many times in the game I did not know what I was doing. Was that just me?
No, the game is confusing. It's more confusing than, and you've got like the extra mansions and stuff like that. Yes. Luigi's Mansion 2 has always been, I think, since 3, right? The worst of the trilogy. And I think most people would agree with that. But I think some people would agree that the worst of the trilogy is still better than the majority of other games out there, right?
Sure.
I still feel that this is almost like a Strikers type situation, right? Where the original Strikers had a lot of attitude. They sanitized it for Battle League. You look at the original Luigi's Mansion, right? Very dark. All the ghosts look very different. They all have unique kind of faces. They're not very generic. They didn't have like the same kind of squash and stretch that you see in other next level titles. Dark Moon took all of the spooky, kind of weird, creepy stuff from the original game and kind of threw it out the window and made it way more kiddie. And honestly, I feel like some of that still kind of bled into Luigi's Mansion 3, but at least Luigi's Mansion 3 felt more like the original Luigi's Mansion game in terms of challenge, in terms of clarity of the gameplay, and in terms of original like type characters. Dark Moon is just kind of all over the place. Like nothing is really very memorable. I feel like all the ghosts are kind of like minionified, if that makes any sense. None of them are particular characters. I'm not interested in any of the ghosts. And overall, I just feel like because it was the weakest in the first place, releasing it for whatever wasn't it $60 actually? Wasn't the whole thing with this game that it was a full price game? Releasing it at $60 for a 3DS game that you could still go readily buy places. Like they had, because remember, the beginning of the Switch's life, they did the remake of Luigi's Mansion 1 that was on 3DS. So again, you could go buy Dark Moon at your local GameStop. You don't need like the HD version of it, and it's cheaper. And to be quite frank, because the game was made for that system, it's probably a better experience to play the original 3DS one. I don't think I gained anything from playing it in HD on the Switch. So yeah, I'm actually glad that we're in agreement. I thought we were going to be on diametric opposing sides for this, but no, it sounds like we're both in agreement that it's kind of mid, man, and it's a bummer, and I don't think it doesn't quite live up to the pedigree of the Luigi's Mansion games. So
for sure, yeah, because especially I had played 1 and 3, I was like, this is not doing it for me. It felt very different, almost like, what's it? First of all, I mean, I didn't like how it was like level by level.
Right, I also did not. I did not like the separate mansions. Yes,
yeah, I didn't like that, and I will say this final thing. The boss fight at the end, that was kind of like, it wasn't like fantastic, but it was like kind of like, wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was like, kind of neat. It was neat.
Yeah.
So with all that said, where do we place it on the list? I imagine
I'm saying C.
That's what I thought, because I wouldn't put it at D.
We're in agreement. I wouldn't
put it at D. Yeah.
No.
So C tier for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD.
Yes.
Because, yeah,
Yes.
I wouldn't put it at B. I'm trying to think, do I like Showtime more than Luigi's Mansion 2?
I think I would say, again, you have to look at this in terms of Luigi's Mansion 2 is a re-release.
Right. Oh,
Showtime
yes,
is
yes.
at least new.
Sure.
And then on top of that, too, Showtime, for the 4 or 5 hours that you play it, I still think, despite it being easy, is at least doing things different and
yeah.
like is taking risks. Whereas like this is the most risk-averse game Nintendo could possibly release. They're releasing a re-release for full price of the worst Luigi's Mansion game. Like, I'm sorry, it's not going anywhere higher than C for me.
Now, like thinking about it, I would say
Yeah.
Showtime was a little bit more enjoyable.
Yes, yeah.
Because like half the time in Luigi's Mansion 2, thankfully it's not just me. I'm like using an IGN guide to like get me through.
Yes.
It's not the most fun, but something else that was kind of fun for a little while, but maybe you can go on the later half or a lower half of the tier list.
Yeah.
Is Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. Now,
Yes.
obviously not going to be as high quality of a game as, you know, anything else on this list because it's a collection of NES games that have challenges in them. But $30, what do we feel? What do we feel here? Give me your spiel.
Yes. Price tag is fine. Price
Yeah.
tag to me for what it is, fine. For what it is, though, which is meant to be this like cool NES remix type game, right? Themed around the Nintendo World Championships, which are a huge part of like in real life Nintendo lore, right?
Yep.
They had such an opportunity to make this like this fun historical chronicle of the previous Nintendo World Championships, of like having it where there was a mini documentary in it that you could unlock by doing special challenges about like the history of putting together the games, like behind the scenes stuff that you could have unlocked, like old design documents from the Nintendo marketing teams of when they put this stuff together, like old footage from the actual tournaments themselves. And also the games that they included, they played so incredibly safe. All of those games you could just get on NSO for free anyway. It's not like there's anything in there that you literally can't play on NSO. If you really want to, and you already have an NSO subscription, literally just go into each of these games, look at what the challenges are in this game, make a save state, and then do the challenges for yourself. It literally, there's no reason to buy this title. And again, I think this could have been such a cool celebration of what the Nintendo World Championships were. And they could have put so many fun little Easter eggs in there. They could have really diversified things. They could have reached out to certain third parties to throw some other games in there. They could have had like a recreation of The Wizard, right? Where that like iconic climactic part of that movie is him seeing Mario 3 at the World Championships and like playing through that. Like there could have been some type of story involved. And all we really got were like fun facts occasionally that would pop up where it's like, some of you might be too young to remember. And it's like, well, I'm not. I'm 34 years old. I remember vividly all of this. I don't need to be reminded of any of this. And I think the audience for this was also people like me. The way they marketed it, like they brought back the people who won the previous World Championships. And you're like, oh, this is going to be fun. Maybe they're going to do interviews that you can unlock as Easter eggs. Nothing. And so like they missed out on the demographic that was actually interested in this. I think they wanted to make it where it was like, no, let's educate the kids about the World Championships. The kids just got one 3 years ago with Splatoon and Smash Brothers. They know what the World Championships are. If you're going to do an educational type, historical type compilation game, the game has to be fun, which this was not. It was, some of the little challenges might have been kind of fun once or twice, but realistically, it's not something I'm ever going to go back and play. And all those games are available on NSO. And two, you missed your entire demographic for what the game should have been, which is again, appealing to people who remember the old games and reminding a younger generation what those older games were like. Not just simply throwing a bunch of fun facts on there and packaging it in like a cute little, you know, albeit the collector's edition was cute with the little cartridge and everything, but come on, dude. It's like, the game itself was poor, I would say.
Sure.
I would put this on D for me.
Oh, wait, really? Okay,
Yes,
wow.
I'd put it above Endless Ocean, but I would put it in D. Yeah.
Alrighty. So, my spiel goes like this. I went out there and bought the collector's edition, got my cool cartridge, all hyped up to play this. First of all, not having Punch-Out in here is the biggest disgrace of all time.
What in the world? Exactly, right.
But besides that, I thought it was honestly the greatest. I'm just kidding. It was fine. It was okay, especially being $30. I think that's a little bit pricey, but I wasn't like I felt like I got scammed. I played it for a couple weeks, and it was fun for me.
You played it for a couple weeks, not a couple days? A couple weeks.
I know, that's shocking, but like not like straight.
Wow.
Like just like that's how long it lasted me before my last playthrough ever.
I see. I see.
It was
like,
fun for me not having grown up in the NES generation or really anywhere near there. It was fun for me because I've not really like deep dove into all these games. So I liked going back to those. I like how you're able to actually see other people's scores, and like they have those like weekly challenges where you can like compete against people, around the world. That's all cool. But I feel like what you were kind of getting at, like they should have added more content, almost like even like, unlockables, Easter egg, things like that. I feel like those were lacking. I think that there could have been more done. And for a game, I'm not a programmer. I don't know how simple this game was to make, but for a game that is, at least, playing wise, as simple as that, I think there should have been like 20 more games thrown in. Like
easily.
Punch out whatever else is missing.
Again, work with third parties. There's such a vast library of third-party titles that were on the NES that they could have easily folded in to done little fun challenges for, and they just didn't want to fork the money to get the licensing rights, which I understand. That's fine. It's a budget title. But again, if you're going to go all out and make like a historical celebration of the Nintendo World Championships, this is not the way to do it. I feel like, because did you play the NES and Super NES or whatever remakes or remix games on the Wii U?
I played the Wii U one, not the 3DS.
That was fun.
And that was
a fun little game.
Cool. Yeah.
It was a fun little game. And I felt like this is kind of what that was, where they were trying to package that into this, but have it where you have these little mini challenges. But to me, the fun of Remix was literally in the title, right? It was how those things were remixed with other games and mashed together and like and it wasn't like, okay, you have 5 seconds to get to the goalpost and do this somewhat faster than somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, and because we are in the age of the internet now, where people can just like go on YouTube and post their speed runs and stuff like that, within seconds, people were posting exactly how to do the exact frame jump of how to get the best score. So if you just go on YouTube, you could follow a guide on how to get like top score on everything and you're fine. It's just a matter of like being able to pull off the jump. But I mean, these things are 5 seconds each, so it's not like it's going to take you that much time. So yeah, it was a bit of a bummer for me, for sure.
Yeah, I just think there should have been a lot more done to it.
Way more.
So for me, better than Endless Ocean.
I'd agree because of the price. I would agree that we could put it above Endless Ocean. I would not be upset at that. Yeah.
But is it a D tier above Endless Ocean, or is it a C tier behind Luigi's Mansion 2? That's where I'm stuck.
I'm going to throw something your way.
Okay.
Throw something your way.
Sure.
This game is $30, and you said you got a couple weeks of enjoyment out of it, right?
A little bit, not straight. I would say like 5 separate days of enjoyment.
Okay.
Pretty good.
How many days of enjoyment did you get out of Luigi's Mansion?
That must have taken me I don't play for too long each day. I would say maybe like 9 days or so, maybe 10 days.
Mm-hmm. And it's $60, and it's a re-release of the worst in the franchise.
So about double the time.
I am almost thinking that instead of putting this NES World Championship thing in D, I think we put it at the bottom of C.
Yes.
Below Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and I think we bump Luigi's Mansion 2 down to D.
But then we have it above Luigi's Mansion.
No. Luigi's Mansion would be above Endless Ocean still. It would be in the same tier, but I think $30 for them trying to do something different with like a celebration of the World Championships and it being such a surprise versus repackaging a game that nobody asked for $60 that is just not really all that fun. I almost feel like that's more of a crime.
I could see that. All right. Yeah, I would do it. So we move Mansion down to D.
Down to top of D, above Endless Ocean, and we put NES World Championship below Mario vs. Donkey Kong and C.
I could see that. All right.
Yes, that looks good to me. That looks very good.
I'm good. Perfect. But
yes.
Something else that looks pretty good is our next game here.
Yes,
I hear you're a pretty big fan of this one.
In fact, hold on, give me a second. Give me one second.
Oh, boy.
I have a special thing to show you.
Oh, boy. We are waiting to see the special thing. Let's see here. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, he's got the Emio, the paper bag over his head. Let's freaking go. Look at that.
Now look, I will say this. When they announced Emio, as I'm sure you remember, right? It was a surprise Twitter announcement.
Yes.
And I think there were a lot of people debating, oh my gosh, is this going to be Nintendo's foray into horror, right?
Yes.
Actually doing like a horror Resident Evil type game.
Yes.
When they announced it was a Famicom Detective Club title, a lot of people got upset at first, right? There were a lot of people who said, this is a visual novel. I have no interest in this. I thought it was going to be a take on horror, and they just kind of like threw it aside. Bro, this game, just like how you felt about Another Code, is how I feel about Emio. I truly did not expect to love this as much as I did. And as somebody who played through and enjoyed both of the previous Famicom Detective Club games that were remakes of the old NES ones, this to me is like the culmination of everything they learned from those remakes, and makes me so grateful that Nintendo actually took the chance to make a new one in 2024 and actually revitalize this franchise, because visual novels are already a genre that is not super popular here in North America, right? It's popular in Japan, and people are used to sort of like budget type games, visual novel games in Japan, but we don't really get them here in North America outside of like your occasional Otome games that get thrown on Steam or like on the eShop, right? But the Emio story, especially because, have you played the whole thing?
Not the whole thing. See, that was my kicker. I've only played a little bit of the beginning.
No.
That's my kicker. That's my unfortunate news here.
Unfortunately, I can't talk about something then, because essentially, without getting into spoilers,
sure.
Essentially, when you find out who the killer is,
oh boy.
Normally in the Famicom Detective Club games, that's like where it ends. You solve the mystery and then the game ends there. This, you find out who the killer is, and then you get a full animated cutscene epilogue that's also playable in chunks of the story behind the killer, and it's heartbreaking. And it is so good. And again, much darker than you would ever expect from something that's a Nintendo game. And the actual like game itself, we were talking about length, right? And not a short game doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad game. This was the perfect length to me. It was 10 hours. It never felt like I was 10 hours in. It felt like I was playing like a chapter a day, essentially. I streamed a bit of this. I think I did like 2 chapters for a couple of those streams. But for the most part, I was playing at the pace of a chapter a day. Each of the chapters is about like an hour to like 45 minutes each. Every chapter has some new good type of revelation with these characters. And again, it does not require you to play the previous Famicom Detective Club games to enjoy it, which I also think is a huge benefit. I think there were people who were hesitant to go into this one who hadn't played the other ones, thinking, oh, but I don't know the other characters, I don't want to get into it. You really don't need to know them. Like Ayumi and the protagonist and the head of the Detective Club, the 3 of them are in all the other previous Detective Club games, but you don't need to know the backstory of the games to actually understand this one. It's its own self-contained sort of detective story. The twists and turns that the story will take you on, especially about like halfway through, around like chapter 5, chapter 6, and then onward, are unbelievable. And I think it does a really good job of pacing out certain reveals and also like teasing what a character might be. But then when you actually find out the truth behind that character, you're like, oh, that's what they meant in this scene like 3 chapters ago when they brought up this one little thing that I wrote in my notebook. It's a very well-paced game. It is hands down the best of the Famicom Detective Club franchise, and I think it marks for me a new era of Nintendo willing to take risks on these smaller niche titles now that they're actually successful again, right? Like during the Wii U era, there were a couple like weird titles here and there, but for the most part, they were sticking close to the vest. They were doing a lot of their major franchises that were making the money because the Wii U wasn't particularly doing all that great. With Switch, they made all that money back. Now they're rolling in it. They got the Mario movie. They got all this stuff. They're willing to take risks, even if the games aren't going to be super successful. But for what it's worth, these Famicom Detective Club games do not have like massive budgets. And it is an important genre for Nintendo to have their hand in, to have these visual novel games. And for, again, what the game was, it still sold equivalent to what you would expect for another Famicom Detective Club game. And also, one last thing I will say, as somebody who, again, is a huge Smash Brothers fan, I don't know if you know this, Sakurai, when developing Super Smash Bros. Melee, way back on the GameCube, he has gone on the record saying that one of the characters that he was thinking of putting in as the retro representative was Ayumi from Famicom Detective Club. So the main girl protagonist, the Famicom Detective Club, she was actually potentially going to be a fighter in the game, but he couldn't come up with like a good moveset. And the series obviously wasn't relevant because the last time they had one was like the SNES remake that never even came out of North America. I mean, came out of Japan to North America. So it was just like a Japan exclusive franchise. But the model that they made for the character of Ayumi is still present in Melee as an assist trophy. I mean, excuse me, as a regular, like the trophies that you would get from the gacha thing. Not an assist trophy that you summon, but like an actual trophy in the game. I think because of the rise in popularity and the rebirth of this franchise again, and for the way that the story goes within this title, I think there's a high likelihood that we could potentially get a Famicom Detective Club representative within the next Smash Brothers. And if we do, I think you're going to see a lot of people bandwagoning and going back and playing the Famicom Detective Club games and seeing where these characters actually come from and what the story of Ayumi and Emio and, you know, your main characters actually are. So this has my highest recommendation. I would personally put this in S this year for what it meant for the industry, for what it meant for Nintendo, for being as good of a story as it was. And I really think if you loved Another Code as much as you did, you owe it to yourself to finish this game. I'm telling you, I know your taste now. You will love it. Yeah.
That was some spiel. You gotta give it up there. That was good.
Of course.
Your sell there makes me want to finish it. I have not. So I played it just enough to where I could talk about it and like know kind of what I'm talking about. Like for the beginning, you know, because I come on the show and give my first impressions on games. Sure, I had enough to give my first impressions. I have not played it since. I think so. I played the previous two Famicom Detective Club games before to kind of get a feel for what I was doing there. I think this is just off an hour of playing or two. The better, the like one of like the most interesting plots I've seen.
Yes.
And it definitely reminded me of Another Code Recollection in the way similar. I mean, someone died, but like it's interesting. It pulls you in.
A lot of people die. Yeah, right.
So I like that element. I just haven't gone back to it, but I trust your spiel. And just off my little bit of playing, I could see the game ending up an A tier. Mm-hmm. So you put it at S tier.
I would put it S.
We got to find middle ground.
Again, I think this goes back to the remaster versus new title thing. Because it is a new title trying something different, I would immediately put it above Paper Mario and Another Code, despite how good those games are. The only thing I could potentially see is us maybe, if we are foregoing the remake thing, bumping both of them up to S and putting it up an S with it. But I will defend this game so much because I think it's something that not a lot of people got to experience all the way through. It came out at a really weird time, right? Like it came out amidst all these other major releases, and I think kind of got lost in the shuffle. But in terms of the theming, again, knowing how you feel about Another Code, you are going to adore the end of this game. It's not even the end. I think within like 3-4 chapters, you're really, really, really going to end up liking it. And pacing-wise and quality of life-wise, it's significantly better than the two other remakes. I think the pacing is much better. It's not quite as confusing when you're going through the investigation with like what you have to do in certain situations. I mean, if you've played Girl Who Stands Behind and Missing Air, then you remember there's definitely moments in that game where you've exhausted every option. Yeah. And you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah,
and that doesn't really happen in Emio. In Emio, they're like with the dialogue and the way they sort of tease certain things out and the the things that you'll discover throughout the course of the game without getting into spoilers. It does a good job of guiding the player without outright telling you. And again, story twist wise, I think of the three, this is far and away the best one. And again, another thing that you might not know about this, the guy who's the lead producer for these games, Sakamoto-san, is also the head of the Metroid franchise within Nintendo. And this is sort of been something that he's wanted to do for 20 years. He's wanted to make a new Famicom Detective Club game and put the story to paper and never had the opportunity. So when those remakes did well, and the company that did that title, Mages, I think is the name of it, when they reached out and did those, and he realized, oh my gosh, we actually have a team within Nintendo that can make this title now, along with the team at Mages that does the great anime stuff, we're in for a good time. So I'm telling you, I really, 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 really adore this game. I would caveat for A. I would caveat for A if you want to put it in A, because I think we are in agreement on the one S. If there's going to be one S this year for Nintendo games, I think,
are we
without knowing, I think we might be. I think we might be agreement on the S.
I think we might not be.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
interesting. Well, okay.
What I think you're going to put at S.
Move stuff up. Yeah.
What I think you're going to put at S, I put highly, but I don't put it at S. I think.
Interesting.
We're going to get into it. But okay, Emio.
Let me ask you. Wait. Let me ask you then. Of the games left standing, would any of these be S for you?
Yes.
Interesting. Me too. Okay, so that's fine.
Just one. Just one.
I don't think we're in disagreement then.
I think we are.
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see. But Emio, do we want to do A and put it? But if we do A,
yes.
Where does it go in A? Above another code?
I would see that's. I would say above another code in Paper Mario simply because it's new and it's like not just a remake or a remaster.
I can get that.
Both of those. Honestly, both of those games are really, really solid, though, and I would put this up there with them. I mean,
I would put it behind.
I think we are in agreement on the S. The more that I look at this, I think we are in agreement.
Okay, maybe we are. I don't know.
And I think we are. And I think the 1A. No, I think we could put it top of A. Let's do it top of A. Honestly, A is just always great, right? A is like solid. Easy recommend, fantastic must play, right? I would say, without getting into the minutia of it, I would put Emio up there with another code in Paper Mario. Yeah.
But you would put it ahead of them, right?
I would have put it in S tier myself, but since you have not beaten the game, I won't make the argument against it at risk of spoiling what I think is going to be a really cool reveal for you when you do end up playing it. Yeah.
Here's my thing.
I'll put it
you would put it S. I would put it here, to be exact. Here.
Okay.
Behind Paper Mario.
So we even out middle the top ground. Of A. We even out the top of A. Yeah.
Or do we even at the middle of it? I'm just kidding.
No, I think we even at top of A. Because I think, for my own personal taste, I would put another code below Paper Mario within the tier. But but I think that's kind of my caveat. I think that's where I'm going to meet you in the middle. I think another code can be smack dab in the middle because I love Thousand Year Door. I've always loved Thousand Year Door. Grew up at that game, loved it. I could live with this. I'll live with this.
This is good.
This is fine. Yes.
This is good. Okay.
Yes.
Our next game, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Yes.
Now here's the thing. This is what I think is your S tier.
Interesting.
Is it not? Or is it? Let me know.
It is.
It is. Okay,
It is. But I think your S tier is Mario Party.
Correct.
And I, having played more of Jamboree, actually agree with you. Ooh. And would also put it in S tier.
Okay.
However, I loved Echoes of Wisdom. I streamed the entirety of Echoes of Wisdom. I think it's probably my favorite top-down Zelda of all time. Like, legitimately. Above Link to the Past, above pretty much any of the other ones. I've never been a top-down Zelda fan. I love the 3D Zeldas. I love your Ocarina of Times, your Twilight Princesses, Majora's Masks, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. I think coming off of Tears of the Kingdom last year, which was such a phenomenal title, I think Echoes of Wisdom definitely feels lacking comparatively, but that's to be expected of a top-down Zelda game. However, I think the Echo mechanic was interesting enough and cool enough, and I was more invested within the story for Echoes of Wisdom, and the new things they were trying with Tri and the new things they were doing with the lore and the birth of the Triforce and Null essentially being like the empty spot within the Triforce, right? And symbolizing the void. I liked what it meant for the story overall and for Zelda lore, because again, got the, Hylian shield right behind me. I love it. For lore purposes, I thought Echoes of Wisdom was super duper solid, way better than I was expecting, S tier. I think there were certain moments of minute-to-minute gameplay in which I think things could have been cleaned up that keep it from being like a 10 out of 10 game. Things like the menus, for example. I think they're not being something that I could designate as a hotkey, and they're just being like the favorites or most used is a problem. I think if there was something in which I could just cycle through the same 10 that I always like to use, whether it was like the little flying tile or like the little armadillos that would solve a bunch of puzzles, or like, I think that would have been a lot better. But I think spending so much time in the menu scrolling is my biggest negative for the game. But I think gameplay wise, I love it. And again, it's my favorite of the top-down Zeldas. And I think it did cool things with the story. I loved having like the River Zora and the Ocean Zora finally meet each other. That was such a cool thing. I loved having like all of the classic races that you've seen in the 3D versions of Zelda, like shown in 2D in this top-down Link's Awakening form for the first time. I really had a good time with it. So yeah, I would say it would be an S for me personally, but I also would have put Emio and Mario Party up at S as well. Those would have been my 3 S's. But I'm happy to hear you out and put it in the A tier.
I'm in pretty much decent agreeance here. I think it's probably my favorite top-down Zelda as well. There you go. I would say that. By the way, just before I forget, one of my big gripes here was going to be the whole menu thing. They came out recently, I forget who, someone on the dev team came out recently and said, well, we did it that way so that when you scroll through, you would have an idea that maybe you didn't have before. That's not true. They just didn't know how to make it work. That's not true. That is not.
They just literally forgot. They forgot.
Yeah, exactly.
They literally forgot to do it. Or they thought that most used would take over, right? Or they thought that people wouldn't use a favorites or like a hotkey because they thought that most used was essentially become that. But that's not the case, as you know, playing the game. Sometimes you're mass summoning crows or whatever, but I'm not actively looking to have the crow be my main dude all the time,
Yeah.
So
the game does what the game does well. It's Zelda.
Yes.
The puzzles, I think, are nice. I did
very nice.
One of the dungeons, I believe. I did one of them recently, and I was just pleased with the challenge that it brought, while also like, I'm not good at puzzle solving. I appreciate the challenge that it brought, while still allowing me to be able to do it very well without having to pull up an IGN guide. It was good for me, and for that, I'm liking the game. The echo mechanic, probably one of the best things that they've introduced. I was worried about this game feeling a very, very similar to previous 2D Zelda games.
Sure.
In some ways it is, some ways it is. I think that the echo feature is like the perfect defining feature for the game, and it's great. I mean, of course that it would be. It's a great recurring thing that you have to go and find. I feel like whenever I use the echoes, however I solve these puzzles is like not the
way you're supposed to do it.
Exactly. I'm like stacking 5 beds on each other. Like, this is not how you should do it. Or, whatever. But that's what's fun. I can do it in my way. And that's why I like the game. But I don't have enough personal love for the game to put it in S tier. I personally would put it, well, Emio wouldn't be in my A, but I would put it, I would put it behind Paper Mario.
Emio would be in your S if you actually played it. If you played Emio, it would be in your S. I'm telling you, guaranteed it'd be there. That's like your number one thing you got to do. You'd love it. Yeah.
I have to. I personally would put it behind my Thousand Year Door.
I'm fine with that.
But you would put it at S, right?
I would have personally put, if I was doing this myself, I would have put Super Mario Party, Zelda, and Emio all in S tier. But I think for purposes of a joint discussion, I think Zelda could be an A. That's fine. But I feel stronger about Emio than I do about Zelda. I think Emio is a tighter experience. It is less of a time investment. And I think it surprised me in a way that I wasn't expecting. I was more surprised by the fact that we actually got a new Zelda game this year than I was by the mechanics within Echoes of Wisdom itself. So
Sure.
yeah.
So to find middle ground,
A is fine.
but like where, like above another code or behind it, like somewhere in the middle here.
Yeah, I think if you want to put it after another code, honestly, I mean, I'd put it behind Paper Mario, maybe.
Okay.
I really love Paper Mario. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
cool.
fine.
We got 4 A tiers.
Yeah.
And our next game.
And that's good because then we'll have an automatic top 5 with 1 S and then the 4 A's. And we've kind of already spoiled what our S is, so it is what it is.
Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
want to begin? Let us know your thoughts.
Yes, first off, I liked the original Super Mario Party. I know there's a lot of people that did not enjoy that game and thought it was like very bare bones. Didn't love it. I agree. I had a fine time with it. I thought I had a fine time with it. Superstars, I thought was a step in a much better direction and absolutely loved that game. Loved all the retro boards and everything. Jamboree, I think, is the best possible mix of all of it, right? You've got the motion control kind of mini games. You've got the more gimmicky type things with like the Bowser mode where you're shooting in the little cannon and you're shooting at the giant Bowser and everyone's running around together. You got the Koopathlon, but you still have all these classic kind of Mario Party boards. You've got the good Westerland board. You've got the really fun, the Galleria board where you're in the mall and you're going up and down the little escalators and buying the different items. You still bring back the party mechanics with the allies, which I thought was really good to have in there. I think the unlocking mechanics, right, where you're getting your party points from either playing online or playing locally to then unlock more stuff is like, it's a really fun, like, I'm trying to think of the right way to word it, but I feel like the minute to minute unlocking mechanics within this Mario Party, I think are better and easier than in previous Mario Party games. And I think the variety in both the mini games, the characters that you have, the roster's really, really good. It's just overall a really good time. And I can safely say in terms of playing games with other people on my Switch this year, Mario Party is like far and away. We mentioned earlier, like the Game Awards, what you would nominate for best multiplayer game or whatever. I voted for Mario Party for best multiplayer game for the Game Awards. I think it absolutely is deserving. I think it's the best Mario Party game. That's a new Mario Party game, not reliant on old Mario Party games in a very, very long time. And I would put it in S. Yeah.
Yep. For me, I think very simply, best Mario Party game of all time.
Explain.
Yes. So previously it was Mario Party 8 was my favorite. I think this does so many things.
Wait.
Yeah.
8 was your previous favorite. Am I thinking of the right game? 8 is on Wii U?
Wii. You're thinking of 10.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what are you talking about, bro? All right, that's fine.
8's on the Wii.
Okay.
Mario Party 8 used to be the favorite.
8 was your favorite?
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
10 was nice because I was younger, but like looking back, it just like, didn't really hit the full mark. So, Jamboree. I think the perfect creativity was brought to this game. The Bowser Kaboom Squad mode, one of my favorites. Koopathlon, who thought of that? Give them a raise.
Super fun, yes.
These are super fun modes. And the fact that in both of the games, something that I like a lot, me personally, is a lot of online community play. Both games nailed that completely. In Bowser Kaboom Squad, you're working together. In Koopathlon, there's so many people trying to do better than you are. And what I like about that game is things can change so fast. You can be 9th in 1 minute and then be first the next minute.
First again, exactly.
I like the fast changing bits of that.
I do too.
Does classic Mario Party very well. I'm forgetting mini games. I'm not sure. I'm like dying over here. I'm not sure if it's just me. The mini games feel like they had more effort put into them. Like they're a little bit longer almost.
Agree. I do agree. They're longer. A lot of them are longer than you expect them to be when you first start. Like, and even the 1 to 3 mini games, like the one where you're the on and off one where one person's at the top and you're like shutting down the little levels and the things will drop on you. Or like the one where you've got 5 rounds you have to last through with the one dude in the giant bullet bill that you have to like home in on the 3 that are running around. It's like, man, these games are taking actually a long time. And some of the ally mini games are so good. The Waluigi pinball mini game is like, could literally be its own side game. It's so good. Yeah.
I just think overall, with everything all thrown in, the best Mario Party. The boards, the Mario Party mode itself, the Jamboree buddies, like it just brings a lot of newness that I feel like we might have lacked. I mean, we especially lacked because Mario Party Superstars was mostly a remake
just
of
old boards,
everything old stuff. Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like this is like the fresh take that we needed. And I'll be honest, when this game was revealed and it had the same Super Mario Party logo, I was worried that it would be like not really a big step in the right direction.
Course.
But even like the games that you know lack substance, like the what's like the flying school one?
Oh, Koopa Troopa Paratrooper School or whatever.
There you go. That one, it's not my favorite, but even that just being there and then like
I agree completely.
What's the cooking one? I forget all the exact names, but
the factory,
they're cool.
Yeah, I completely agree because I think that's the beauty of Mario Party games, right? Is that not every minigame is going to be everybody's favorite, but it's the quantity and what is there within the quantity actually being quality, even if it's not your thing. I completely 110% agree. The variety is really good. The online is very easy to jump into. It's been super fun streaming this game with like my members and with my subscribers over on Twitch. It's been so much fun. And it's been great playing it locally because I've had, thankfully, that experience both ways, in which within the past couple weeks, I've had a lot of friends literally come to my house locally where we sit down and actually play through rounds of like the classic Mario Party boards. We did like the Galleria board, we did the Westerland board. It was a ton of fun. But then at the same time, within the same experience, I'm going live and playing like the Bowser Kaboom mode with all of my subscribers, and they're all running in different directions. We're trying to figure out, okay, who's taking like the dash pads when, how many of these are we placing to get around him? It's really a lot of fun. And I think the achievement system that's built in is really nice too, where you get the little bonus achievements where like obviously Nintendo doesn't have a baked in achievement system, right? And having that just to like unlock something fun or different in a regular match that you would just normally just be wasting your time having fun with your buddies is really a lot of fun. So, and I like everything about it. I love the roster is the best one we've ever had. Getting like Monty Mole and Pauline in there and stuff too. So yeah, overall, I had a really good time with it. And I do think, at least within modern years, this is my favorite Mario Party. Overall, I don't know quite as much, because what was your first console growing up?
I'm younger than you think, man. My first console was
Wii?
like
I'm guessing it was Wii.
Really the Wii? I dabbled in GameCube as a toddler.
Yeah. Okay, so mine was N64. Mine was N64. I got into it like mid N64. So like my first system ever, I was 8 years old and I got Banjo-Kazooie. That was like my first actual thing. My first full console cycle Nintendo for me was GameCube. And the reason I ask, because Wii was like where you started, I do think people's favorite Mario Party is reliant on what the one was that they played the most when they were kids.
Sure.
And for me, the one that I played most as a kid was 3 on the N64. I loved Mario Party 3. And at the time, there wasn't like a new Mario Party game out on the GameCube, because that game came out the same year the GameCube came out. And so a lot of us who didn't have GameCubes immediately that first holiday season had Mario Party 3 as like our holdover game with our friends that we would play over and over and over again. And I'm assuming it's kind of a similar situation with you and the Wii, right? Is that you grew up playing, you said 8 that was on the Wii?
Yep, 8.
You grew up playing 8, and so it's the one that you have the most nostalgia for. But I do think that is the beauty of Jamboree, is like people who grew up with the N64 GameCube ones or people who grew up with the GameCube Wii ones, we're sort of all in this consensus that like, nah, but this is the good stuff. Like, this is the good stuff right here.
The good stuff.
Yeah. I think we are actually in agreement then. Cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I only have 2 negative things about the game. Only 2.
Yes.
Number 1, and they're pretty small, to be honest. The first one, have you played an online game with strangers, like not members or like, your friends?
No. I'm
not sure if it's just like for like the first few times or whatever, but when I played online with quote unquote strangers, they're all bots. Like, do you know, like, when you play a mini game by yourself, when you hit ready, they all hit ready like at the same
immediately.
Time? That happened in the online mode. I'm like, this is not online. Maybe it like gives you that just like for your first 1 or 2 first online matches, and then after that it does strangers. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I guarantee you the first and second time that I did online, they were all bots. I'm not sure if the people who were there left and then they turned into bots. I don't know. But it wasn't the truest of online, and I've heard multiple people say that. And then also, I didn't like, very, very, very small nitpick, I didn't like how easy it was to unlock Pauline and I believe Ninja, right?
Oh, see, I loved that part about it. I liked
I
that
don't
it was easy to
know.
unlock. Because I'm like, just give me the roster, bro. This isn't a Smash Brothers. I don't need to feel like I'm unlocking anything in terms of characters. Just give me who I want to play as right from the get-go. Yeah, I didn't mind that much. I will say, I was sad Diddy Kong wasn't there. I wish Diddy Kong was there. I wish Funky Kong was there. Honestly, I wish all the Kongs were there. Give me Cranky, Funky, Lanky, Diddy. Give me all of them.
Heck yeah. But I would put it at S tier.
Yeah,
Where
I
do
agree.
you put it?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're putting
our
S tier.
first S tier.
That's our
Mario
S tier.
Party Jamboree. That was real great. Love
Our
that
only
game.
S tier. Because
Our
I know
only.
damn well our next one is not going to be an S tier. No way.
And that
0% chance.
That is Mario and Luigi Brothership. We've played it. I will put this in there. I have played not the entire game. It is a pretty long one and came out a few weeks ago. I am decently into it, but I've not beaten it because it's somewhat new. I'll let you give your spiel, though. As always, let us know.
My spiel is going to be very short. I don't like the Mario and Luigi games. I've never liked the Mario and Luigi games. I grew up playing Superstar Saga. I think Superstar Saga is fine. Bowser's Inside Story, I've heard a lot of people say they love. I played it and thought it was fine. I've given this franchise so many opportunities. I have tried it multiple times. I am an RPG fanatic. I love my Xenoblades. I love all that kind of stuff. And for me, it does not hit. I feel like the humor, like we were talking about in Paper Mario, is a little too childish in the Mario and Luigi games versus Paper Mario. I think Paper Mario at least is like funny to adults. Whereas I think like a lot of the humor and stuff like Mario and Luigi, like what's the name of it's like Grampy Onion or whatever his name is in this new one. Do you know who I'm talking about? Who's the character? Grandpa Pickles or something? Who's the dude?
Something. I'm forgetting now.
He's terrible. It's just the writing is not enjoyable to me. It comes off as like just childish and trying to be funny as opposed to like actually genuinely being well written and funny. And that's unfortunately how I've always felt about this subgenre. Like when Alpha Dream closed down last year and people were like, oh, we're never getting another Mario and Luigi. I literally dead in the camera was like, good. I'm never going to get another one. That's fine. Good. I don't need one. I'm not happy that Alpha Dream closed. I'm not happy people lost their jobs, but I was happy that I thought it was the death of this franchise. And then when I saw this game announced during the Nintendo Direct, I was like, whoa. Wait a minute. This actually looks awesome. The animations on the characters look great. The environment seemed really cool, like where they're jumping all around together. But then when you actually play the game, and you realize it's like the worst aspects of the Mario and Luigi games that come out in Brothership, right? Where like Luigi is just like the dumbest CPU AI character that you could think of. And it's like, what? This takes out the fun of the one thing that's good about Mario and Luigi is controlling Mario and Luigi.
Exactly.
And to remove that aspect of it and dumb down the script, it just is like such a huge disappointment when I felt like seeing that trailer for Brothership initially in the Nintendo Direct, and people can go back and watch my reaction, I was genuinely excited. I was like, wait a minute, this actually looks good. I have hope for this franchise. Only to be like, nope, still not great. Still not my tempo, and still will probably never like this franchise. So that's how I feel about it.
You've nailed it. I'm pretty much going to be echoing what you said here. My biggest thing is how you can't control Luigi very much. So that was, I mean, as you just said, I'm echoing what you said, but I fully agree. The purpose of Mario and Luigi is to control them both. When I found out pretty much all you're able to do is some Luigi logic, I was like, well, what is this? Especially because I've not played every single game. They're all long. I had a plan to like play through every single one over the past few months. Didn't get to do it. So I played Superstar Saga, then going right from there, which Luigi is heavily involved in, playing Brothership, I was like, so when do I get to control Luigi? Didn't really happen. He's very automatically controlled, I guess you can put. Like you just press, X to do Luigi logic or whatever it is.
Yes.
And then he's off to do his thing. You're just kind of Mario. Now, is that bad? Probably, but I also will put this in there. I do like how it makes things a little bit simpler because although that is like the main feature of the game, I am kind of like I don't have to use much brain power to like really figure out a big puzzle. So it's easier in that way. And my big analogy, or not an analogy, but like the phrase that I kept using here was it felt like Mario and Luigi with kid gloves. Like they're like very easy with you. Like Luigi's gonna go do his Luigi logic. Your Mario go like they spell things out for you a whole lot.
Yes,
My big thing was like if you don't know how to solve a puzzle, there's probably an NPC not far from you that'll tell you what to do. It'll spell it all out for you. I didn't like that. I like a challenge, but not too much of a challenge. I just felt like it was too easy. It was Mario and Luigi, not Brothership. Kid gloves. That's what the game was. So, not the best, I would say. I found Superstar Saga a bit challenging. That's just a skill issue, I guess.
I mean, to be fair, Superstar Saga, I think, is the best of the whole series. I really like, as I played a little bit more of it when they added it to NSO, and I remember that being the one that I grew up playing and like enjoying, and then wondering like why I fell off this franchise when I love RPGs so much, and I remember enjoying Superstar Saga. And again, Superstar Saga, it's challenging, you control them, the writing is genuinely funny, it feels like Paper Mario, it doesn't feel nearly as cringy, there's tons of original characters like Prince Peasley and Cackletta, they bring even like characters like Geno in there as cameos, it utilizes the best of the Mushroom Kingdom. Like when you look at what that series started as and what it eventually became, it became like way too Saturday morning cartoon, cringy child humor, kid gloves from what the series initially started at, which was like a really solid, well-written RPG. And again, I know people love Bowser's Inside Story. I have not played a lot of Bowser's Inside Story. I enjoyed what I played of it. I thought it was fine, but I never was like interested enough to go back and finish it. That's my only real experience with any of them that I've liked are those two. The other ones I've never been a fan of. So yeah, this was kind of par for the course for me. I think for me, it was just more that I was disappointed because when I saw the trailer for this, I really thought it was going to be a step in the right direction. And it only kind of further solidified my thoughts on this franchise as a whole.
Yeah. I feel like it just failed to be Mario and Luigi. It kind of felt like Mario and Mario. But
yeah,
where do I put you, my friend? Mario and Luigi.
I'm gonna say this. Acknowledging my bias that I hate this franchise, right? That I really am not a fan of this franchise at all. This would be an easy D for me, but easy. I mean, like easy D, not even questioning it. Definitely a D. But I am assuming you like the games more than I do, and it sounds like you're slightly more positive, if albeit only by a little bit, on this one than I am. So I will let you make the final judgment call.
I shouldn't make the final judgment, but I will tell you this: I've not played it all. I have a feeling at the end, and this is just feeling, so I shouldn't rank off this, but
sure.
I think I will have enjoyed this more than Princess Peach Showtime.
Really?
So my gut would say B.
The game is like 100 hours though, or something. Isn't it crazy?
It's like 35 or something.
Oh, it's 35. It's not 100? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, but 40 hours of grindy easy versus 5 hours of solid good.
But that was just too easy. I mean, it was too easy.
But some
boss
of it was
battle,
too
not
easy.
Good.
The boss battle was bad. The final boss battle, I'll give it to you. Yeah. I mean, if you wanna, you could put at the bottom of B. So then we have 2, 2, 2, 4, 1. If you want to do that for the purposes of the list looking better, I won't fight it. Just know I heavily disagree, but that's fine.
But we should find a middle ground. I feel like it's fair. So would we go C tier?
Our middle ground. I mean, we could do C tier if you want. We could do C tier.
Top of C tier would be middle ground, I guess? We could do top of C tier.
That's fine. And with the acknowledgement that when you finally beat it, you might move it up to B. That's fine. That's fine. Okay.
All right.
I can live with that. That looks good. I can live with that.
This is the joint tier list right there.
There you go.
Awesome. Wow. So to recap, our only S tier, Mario Party Jamboree. Our A tiers, Emio, Another Code Recollection, The 1,000-Year Door, Echoes of Wisdom. B is Princess Peach Showtime. C is Mario and Luigi, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and NES World Championships. And then D is Luigi's Mansion 2 HD and Endless Ocean Luminous. I hope that this tier list does not get clipped off, because to be honest, without context, it could be a bit questionable.
I don't know, though. I don't know. I actually don't think so. I think if you've played the games we're talking about, and someone clips this and puts it somewhere and is like, this is where you would rank the other games of this year, I actually feel pretty good about this. I think the only thing that I'm like, is like some of the A's I think could move up to S. But realistically, I think everything that's in A and above deserves to be there. I think Peach is, again, like a really solid middle of the pack, right? I mean, there's 11 things on this list, and that is smack dab in the middle of the bottom 5 and the top 5. And the bottom 5 being Brothership, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, NES Championship, Luigi's Mansion 2, and Endless Ocean is like, there's no argument there.
Yeah,
I think you could maybe justify, you could put like, oh, one would be above the other or whatever, but like those being the bottom 5 and the top 5 being Mario Party Jamboree, Zelda, Emio, Paper Mario, and another code, I think is completely, that makes perfect sense.
I just know like tons of people would put, Emio, another code, D tier. Like, they just don't like those games.
They're wrong. They're wrong. They're objectively, they have bad taste. That's it. You just have to acknowledge, we know people in this world have bad opinions, and we know that they have bad taste. And unfortunately, not everyone can be as cultured as us. And so unfortunately, they got bad taste, and it is what it is. And they can go back to playing their garbage Mario and Luigi games. But I'm going to enjoy the culture that is Emio and another code.
Perfect. I love it. But folks, our next segment, the Q&A segment, the question block segment.
Nice.
We are going to answer your questions you asked us. Let's go ahead. Let's get to it. Folks, you have made it to the question block segment where we answer your questions you asked us. We have some questions. If you want to ask a question every single week on my community tab as the Emio paper bag goes back on my community tab on my YouTube, I ask for questions. You can leave some there or join the Discord down below in the description. You can find the question channel and leave some in there. We take those as well. And our first question comes from Cute Red Panda, who asks, if you can bring back the Miis, what Mii game would you make for them? Roger, I'll begin with you.
I mean, this is the obvious, easy answer. Tomodachi Life, right?
Like, I would agree. Yeah.
That's not even a question. That would be the Mii game that you would bring back. Unless you're asking, like, would you make a new game with the Miis, like a new type of franchise?
I think that's the question. But I would still choose Tomodachi Life too.
I would too. I love Tomodachi Life. Yeah.
Boom.
Easy. I think we're in agreement there. No.
Because, like, you could do Miitopia 2.
That was kind of cute, to be fair. 2. I did have fun with that, like making weird Miis and then going like on a random little RPG. That was kind of fun. I mean, ideally, they're not going to do this, but I would love for them to bring back Wii Sports. Like, not Nintendo. I like Nintendo Switch Sports. I'm saying this as someone who actually genuinely really likes that game. I feel like it lost the charm of the goofy little Miis from Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort by having their own like little OC characters in that, which were, again, they were fine. Like, I understood why they did it because of the unlockables and having the different skins and the outfits. But yeah, man, just like for the next sports game, just make it a Wii type, Mii type game, and I'll be happy with that. But I think we're in agreement on Tomodachi Life being
for sure.
Thing to
the
back.
Other thing I would take, like very, not as big of a game, bring back Miitomo. What are we talking about?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Miitomo. That's fine. You could bring back Miitomo. I'm cool with that.
If they don't want to make, a whole game,
just make a little app or something.
Miitomo.
Do Miitomo. Yeah. There you go. That's fine.
I'll take that. The Real Beans asks, do you like Mario Party Jamboree? Okay. What do you like and not like about it? Well, the answer is yes. We put it in S tier.
Yeah, definitely go check out the whole conversation we had in the previous section of this, because I think both of us were glowing about Super Mario Party Jamboree. Yeah, we both love it. And I think we're in agreement that it's one of the best Nintendo games of the whole year. So, potentially the best Mario Party game of all time.
I say yes, but
there you go. Too early for me to say, but I could see the argument, and I'm not going to argue with you on it because it really is very good. Yeah.
What do we like and not like about it?
I think we kind of touched on all that again too. I think
we did.
Ground.
We did.
Yeah. The only thing is, I guess you said you didn't like that Pauline and Ninja were too easy to unlock. I didn't like that they didn't have all the Kongs. You should put all the Kongs, but that's pretty much it. Everything else we liked. I feel like it's a really easy one. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Hey, I'm Willa asks, what's your favorite? Why did I put these questions on here if we already answered them?
I was like, we answered a lot of these.
I apologize. What's your favorite Nintendo game that you played in 2024? I was not thinking. Well, for me, it's another code, but
And for me, it's Emio. Yeah.
All right.
So that's interesting, though. The two adventure visual novels are the ones that end up on both of our lists.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I respect it, man. I respect it. I'm glad I'm in good company. That's good.
This could be the fastest Q&A segment of all time. McScooch asks, what other wacky objects, like Alarmo, do you think Nintendo could make next?
Oh, now this is a fun question.
Yes.
What? So,
I can go first.
Recently. Yeah, you go first. You go first.
Because I know mine. Quick sell.
Okay, go.
Nintendo Watch.
Oh, interesting. They already got the clock technology. Just make it a watch. I would
take that. You could put a pedometer, I believe they call it, which would then translate over to it would sync to your Switch, which they can bring back play
Street
coins.
Pass and play coins, yes.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, it can Street Pass while you're out.
I love it.
There you go. And then it has all the features, of course, a clock. I'm not sure what you would do if it didn't have that. It can have like maybe a app where you can see who's online on Switch Online, like the Switch Online app can do on your phone. It can tell you who of your friends is online. It can communicate with all sorts of other games. My only worry is that everyone has a watch. I have an Apple Watch on.
Yeah.
I don't realistically know if I would switch out the Apple Watch for the Nintendo Watch. I don't know if I would. That's my only worry about that. Alarm clocks, there's no Apple alarm clock aside from on your phone. Watch is competitive, but what's your idea?
So I just came back from a visit to the Nintendo Museum. Yes. I got to go about 2 weeks prior to the opening. It was awesome. I got to see all the cool toys that they used to make back in the day, the old board games and all these old classic things that you just don't think of Nintendo making nowadays. Yeah. They're not making like these type of toys. I would genuinely love to see them bring back board games. Like actual, not like Nintendo branded board games. I don't mean like Animal Crossing Monopoly or like what we have now. I mean like actual made by Nintendo board games. I think would be super duper cool to see, like themed with the characters, maybe like some type of Metroid board game would be really neat, or like some other type of physical, right? Like actual physical type game would be cool. My other answer to this that I would say, I love my Samsung Flip. I got this about 2 months ago. I love this thing. I love the fact that it's a smartphone, but you flip it like a GBASP. I love it. And I love that it evens out and it's the foldable screen. And I love everything about this.
That's neat.
Okay. Yeah. Nintendo can literally make a Game Boy phone. Just make a Nintendo phone. Make a Nintendo phone using the Android infrastructure, right? It's very easy to use already and change anyway. Make it all with all the bells and whistles, little, apps that sync with your Google and all your other daily stuff. Make a Nintendo phone. I am telling you, I would switch over day one to a Nintendo phone if they made a Nintendo phone. But the only thing is, I think for people like you have an Apple Watch, right? So I'm assuming you're on the Apple infrastructure. You had an iPhone.
Correct. Yep.
I think it would be difficult to get people who have iPhones who have never had an Android before to switch over. I'm somebody who's had both. I've had iPhones, I've had Androids. I've switched between them all the time. So for me, the flip to the flip was not that difficult for me. I was used to already having all my stuff synced with Google. I mean, you're a YouTuber as well. Like we have all our stuff on Google. So it is what it is. It's easy. I think that would be their only dilemma if they made a phone would be to actually get people to switch over. But I think if they did some type of branding with like a Samsung or even an Apple, right? Like as a phone manufacturer to team up with to create a Nintendo phone would be incredibly hype. Yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah. I just don't know if people would switch. As you said, that's the only tough part I see, but I would like to see a Nintendo phone. That would be interesting. Great. That would be very cool. The nerd Hinox asks, do you think Nintendo will do GameCube Switch Online during the Switch or the Switch 2's lifespan?
Answer is absolutely 100% yes during Switch 2's. And in fact, I'm going to make a prediction right now. I think it will be there at launch for Switch 2.
Oh, wow.
And here's why. I think they're going to need to justify people carrying over their Switch Online expansion pass subscriptions to the next platform. And I think having a dedicated app that is available exclusively on Switch 2 and not on the Switch, that is a retro game app, and having that be GameCube especially if you consider the type of games that they could have there at launch with Switch 2 if they had like a GameCube Switch Online. You could have online Melee, would be massive. You could have online Kirby's Air Ride, online City Trial. You could have online Star Fox Assault, Mario Kart Double Dash. There are so many good multiplayer games that I don't realistically see coming to a Switch online app that would be GameCube. But I think for Switch 2, if they're doing a Nintendo Switch Online app, they would do GameCube. And I think all of those games, in addition to some rarer single player titles that like are very expensive if you're going to go buy them on your own, things like Path of Radiance for Fire Emblem, or even like the original Super Mario Sunshine, I think having those on there would be really cool. And it is interesting, very interesting, that Super Mario 3D All-Stars came out. You can play Mario 64 on N64 NSO, but there's no actual way to play Mario Sunshine. I feel like that would be an easy thing to throw in the GameCube. And I think they maybe wouldn't put things like Metroid Prime, or if we do end up getting the Twilight Princess Wind Waker HD ports, because it would be backwards compatible, I don't see a world in which they would put those on the service. But for the multiplayer games, and even like the original Luigi's Mansion and Wave Race Blue Storm and stuff like that, I could see them throwing on there. So yeah, I definitely think we're going to get it on the Switch's successor, but it won't be on Switch.
I think it's a very smart move to bring all those games, like you said, Air Ride and Luigi's Mansion, all the games that have not been remastered. My only worry is that games are being remastered. They could easily throw out a Luigi's Mansion GameCube remaster right now and make money off of it as opposed to throwing it on there. That's my only worry, that if we did get it, it wouldn't be as great. Like Paper Mario wouldn't be on there. Anything else. Pikmin 1 and 2 probably shouldn't be on there, which are
they probably
key games.
Might be, though. I could see them doing that. I could Pikmin only because Pikmin 1 and 2 is not like a full remaster. It's just a re-release, right? Like obviously it's up-resed, but it's not, the game itself is exactly the same. So with situations like those, because we already have, like I said, Mario 64 is on Mario 3D All-Stars. Like they have a version of it that's available for purchase. I don't think that negates Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2. I do think, or Sunshine, but I do think it does negate Thousand Year Door, the original Metroid Prime, and potentially Wind Waker and Twilight Princess if those ports that we know they're just sitting on ever get released. Those would be the only four. Realistically, though, everything else, Melee, Star Fox Assault, Star Fox Adventures, Kirby Air Ride. I mean, people forget how vast that library was and how many weird first-party games were there that have never gotten re-released.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I don't know, though, because 64, while it's on the online service, although it was up for purchase with the collection, you can't buy it anymore. So it's like, let's throw it on there because, you can't buy that anymore unless you get it secondhand. I think if you put Pikmin 1 and 2 on there, it's like, why even buy the $50 version of it? I don't know. It's tough.
Well, they're not $50, are they, for Pikmin 1 and 2?
For both of them, it's 50.
Really?
Yeah. So they're 30 each, but if you buy them in a bundle, it's 50.
Oh. I mean, look, people wouldn't like this, but Nintendo could always delist it. I mean, if they were going to do that, they could always just delist it, Mm-hmm. People wouldn't be thrilled.
Yeah, exactly.
But they could definitely do that. Yeah.
They could. We'll have to see. I would love to see it. I think that we will see it. It's just a matter of what games we see on it. And when. Yeah, exactly. And then finally, Anderson the Pro asks, what was the first Nintendo game you ever played?
Banjo-Kazooie. And technically, obviously now it's a Microsoft game, but at the time it was first party Nintendo. And it was a game changer for me. Again, I did not have a video game system prior to that. I went to Toys R Us. I saw the display demo for Banjo-Kazooie. I begged my parents for it for Christmas. I was like, this is the most amazing thing. I can't get over the graphics. I can't get over how vast the world is and the characters. I absolutely need this. And I got it for Christmas 1998. That's what kicked off my entire Nintendo obsession. And I got my N64 with Banjo-Kazooie. So that was my first one.
Now my first memory.
My first if you're excluding Banjo-Kazooie, right? Because technically it's third party now. My first one after that would have been Pokemon Snap.
Mm.
Yeah, it would have been Pokemon Snap. Because that was then going into summer of 1999 and Pokemania, and I had an N64. I didn't have a Game Boy. And so my first Pokemon game was Snap. And so, yeah, it would have been Pokemon Snap, but Banjo-Kazooie is
Snap's a good one, too.
Yeah.
Good stuff. My first. Okay. Yeah, I think it would have been on the GameCube. I didn't play it well. I was very young, but it would have been Luigi's Mansion. Now,
Nice.
the first game that I ever played, aside from Bop It, was Shrek 2 on the GameCube because my family
What the
had that.
heck? Okay, interesting.
Shrek 2 is
Shrek
the
2.
bomb.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm just saying that's an interesting first Nintendo game. Is Shrek 2 on the GameCube?
Yeah, I mean it's not made by them, but it was on the GameCube.
It's on Nintendo. It's licensed by Nintendo. It counts.
That's true. So I had that, but other than that, it was Luigi's. I never fully played the game. I had a babysitter who would play pretty much for me.
Interesting.
And I would think that I was playing like, bro. I thought I was like the main character. I thought I was like doing the most. She was just playing the entire time. I guess she found it fun because I couldn't. I was too young to like figure things out. But I felt like I was helping in a way, so that was cool. I eventually went back and replayed it myself. One of my favorites. I love Luigi's Mansion. What a great masterpiece. Please bring it to Switch. I would love to replay it again.
Honestly, I could see them, since they did the Luigi's Mansion 2 HD thing, I could see them bringing over as like a last minute thing next year.
Yeah.
Like Luigi's Mansion, the 3DS remake in HD. I could see them doing that.
That would be great. And also because like every single Pikmin game is on the Switch, just throw it in there. Like make it the ultimate Luigi's Mansion.
All the Luigi's Mansion. There you go.
There you go. I would freaking love that. But folks, that is it for the Mario Matter episode. Number 116, I believe.
Woo!
Roger, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
For sure, any upcoming projects or anywhere that you would like to promote, where can the people find you online? Anything cool? The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Blue Sky, everywhere as RogersBase. I got that brand unity. Thankfully, I didn't have to. Nobody stole the RogersBase name, which is good. I just uploaded a full tour vlog of the Nintendo Museum, as well as a 64 fact video about things you need to know about the Nintendo Museum if you plan on visiting. I also did a full playthrough of Echoes of Wisdom that is now available on the YouTube channel. I'm also going to be live streaming the Game Awards, so that are coming up that we talked about at the beginning of this. That'll be a live stream coming up that you can come tune in and see if any of our Nintendo games end up winning. But the big project in terms of Nintendo stuff that is going to be released before the end of this year, it's going to be probably in 3 or 4 weeks is when it's going to come up. It's going to be right before Christmas. Is during my visit to Japan, when I went to go to the Nintendo Museum, I actually flew a couple days early so I could go stay at Marufukuro, which, for those of you who don't know what Marufukuro is, this is the Nintendo hotel that is inside of the original Nintendo headquarters in Kyoto. Ooh. It is a 5-star luxury hotel that is absolutely incredible. Was one of the best hotel experiences I've ever had in my life. I have a full breakdown of what to expect at the hotel, the food that was at the hotel, the amenities, all the different Easter eggs hidden throughout it, and just my overall experience. It is a really, really good video that I think people are going to love. And so, yeah, my visit to the Nintendo hotel is going to be coming out within the next couple weeks. So look forward to that. Yeah.
Interesting stuff for sure. Go and check it out. Thank you, Roger, for joining. All of his links down below, and I will see you next week. We have a very exciting episode next week. I won't say much, but it's a very personal thing to me. I will say this,
nice. Okay.
Roger. I will tell you after we get off here. But there's a hint somewhere on camera. I will tell you what it is in a minute, Roger. Thank you for listening. 5 stars on all the platforms, and I'll see you all next week. Adios.
Take care, everybody.